We also watched AEW Dynamite, January 1st of 2020.
I thought this show was excellent. Am I the only one?
No.
I loved it.
I off the top of my head, I can't think of anything I would have changed significantly. So the opening video is in fact all about how the elite are all losers. Okay,
Yeah.
Here's something a negative I can find. They show clips of them all losing as they have sound bites of each person in the elite repeating the same stuff over and over about adversity and failing to live up to expectations, whatever. One of the lines that each man repeated or each man read a different part said, "Are these just a random series of events that continue to escalate from desire?" What?
I don't know what that means.
I don't either. So tonight, the question is asked, is the elite still elite?
Hey, listen. They were losers all last year. But you know what? It's a goddamn brand new year.
Yes.
AEW has announced that all of the win-loss records are being wiped clean for the new year. And so it is time to start over fresh. And the storyline in this show was all the members of the elite are in action tonight.
Yes.
Can they start the new year off with a bang? And you know what? They delivered to the fans. And actually, the fans were so happy to see these guys fucking win. So maybe there's a message to be sent here that it is in fact fucking time for the elite to be elite again.
Taz was filling in for Tony Schiavone. Now, I love Tony Schiavone. Let me make that clear. I love Tony Schiavone. But you know what? I also love Taz.
Taz was great.
Taz is so awesome. He calls this like it's a competition, and he calls it from the point of view of a competitor. Talking about the strategy, the technique. He's calling the just as from an athletic standpoint, the technique of things going on, the mindset of a competitor. He was great, and he brought a gravity and a sporting element to this that I really, really, really enjoyed.
Well, you know what you can do is they have a lot of people who I love on commentary. We got Jim Ross.
Yep.
Obviously, Excalibur's awesome.
Yes.
Tony Schiavone is great being Tony Schiavone. Taz is great being Taz. Okay? This was a somewhat special show here. They had the four-way for the women's title. They had the big Elite versus Pac and the Lucha Brothers. They had the big Cody, Darby Allin rematch. If you have a show that's got a bunch of very important matches that you've built up for a long time, bring in Taz. Have him replace Tony Schiavone. If you got a show where, well, we've announced like one match, and the rest of the matches are just things setting up something down the road, bring in Tony Schiavone. You can rotate announcers in and out. You don't have to have a set announce team that changes for no reason. If there's important matches, Taz can be there. If there's not, he doesn't need to be there. Or you put him on the pay-per-views, or whatever.
I was going to say, or you can switch during the show.
Yes.
Have Tony do the first 90 minutes and have Taz do the title match.
Or whatever, yeah.
Yes. Tonight on this show, Jon Moxley versus Trent, Dustin Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara, a four-way for the women's title, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Pac and the Lucha Brothers, MJF answers Cody, and our opener, Cody versus Darby Allin. We open with an artsy-fartsy video of Darby skating around town with a Cody mask on and then setting fire to it. And he comes out with a weird guy in a mask wearing a Cody mask, who apparently is from a band or something.
Dude, I love all of his different entrance videos. Every entrance video is different depending on the match. And in WWE, it's like, you got your Titantron.
Yes.
That's what it's going to be. And this is cool. Every time Darby has a different exciting match, he's got a different exciting video package. It makes him different. It all plays into whoever he's wrestling. I like it.
And I suspect that he's the kind of guy who would have a lot of input into the video itself, too. So this building
was awesome.
It was unique, that's for sure. It was not an arena. It was like a theater, like the Paramount Theater in Seattle. So they put the ring not on the stage, but right in front of it, with a ramp coming off the stage and all the seating around it, but mostly to one side. So from the hard cam, you're looking at about 3 rows of people and then a blank wall because you're looking at the side of the building and the stage is over to the right. It took a while to get used to, but it was very cool.
Yeah, but that's like, I'm going to bring up WWE again.
Sure.
But like every Well, I mean, with the exception of like a WrestleMania or something like that, every Raw show, it doesn't matter where the fuck they're at. It looks exactly the same.
Yes.
Okay? Mm-hmm. We're not doing video on the Jericho cruise. But if we were, I would not go to the people on the cruise and say, I need a fucking glass desk, and I need a weird cream-colored wall, and I need black and red panels behind me. I want to make sure it looks just like at fucking home. Right. Why would I do that?
That would be dumb.
You're on the goddamn boat. I want the ocean in the background. I want animals jumping or whatever, because I'm somewhere different. So I like this. I like that they have a different building. It's fun. I think every promotion, when you go somewhere different, like, you should shoot it to show where you're at that's different. Don't make everything look the same.
Yes. It was smaller, like, floor space than a typical AEW arena, but it was huge vertically. So still a great atmosphere, and the crowd was totally in everything.
What was the show? Because they've shot a show there before. I don't remember.
Yes, it was like a fighter fest.
Okay, that's what it was. Yeah, thank you.
So this match
was great.
It was very great, but mostly it was really, really weird. Because Cody was the babyface. Not to say Darby was the heel, but Cody was the clear babyface, if you're paying attention. Darby slams in the apron, begins to work over the shoulder, and in the middle of having the heat on him, Cody gets a figure four for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then Darby gets out of the figure four and starts tearing his shoulder apart again. Cody makes his comeback and slows things down. Very strange pacing. Somewhere in here, Darby tore off a turnbuckle pad, was played into the finish. Darby did a coffin drop onto the apron, a very dumb thing to do. But
but he landed on the guy at least.
Well, he's done
Often
dumber.
he will do a coffin drop and miss the person and land on the apron.
That's true.
Yes.
That is dumber. So the big finish is Cody charges, but his bad shoulder hits the exposed turnbuckle. He goes down. Darby goes to the top rope. Cody's new manager, Arn Anderson, jumps up in the apron, frantically pointing to his knee. So Cody knows to get the knees up.
Yes.
And so Darby lands on Cody's knees with a coffin drop. Apparently, if Arn had not signaled to get your knees up, Cody would have looked at Darby and watched him fall on him.
Well, maybe he would have been, he was, I don't know. But hey, listen, guy's his manager. They're trying to, you don't want just Arn to be out there. What's Arn going to do as a manager? Well, is he going to out-talk Cody?
No.
Probably not at this stage. Is he just going to stand there and be Arn?
He's not going to interfere in sheets.
You have to establish that Arn is there for a reason. And the reason was, as a wily veteran, he realized this skinny guy is going to fall on Cody. Mm-hmm. I must alert him to get his knees up. Whatever, dude. It's pro wrestling. I liked this. I thought it was a very good pro wrestling match. Darby worked over the shoulder. He took the corner pad off because he's obviously at a disadvantage because he's a skinny skateboarder against Cody. And they put the guy over strong. He got over strong in losing. Cody got over big in winning. Everybody got over here. I liked this.
So am I the only one who's just wondering about the entire logic about Cody bringing in Arn as his manager? Because, no. I mean, if you think about it from a kayfabe perspective.
Dude, I can explain this so easily, Rob.
Okay.
Cody can no longer ever fight for the world title again.
Right.
Okay. Arn Anderson was never a world champion, but he was an extremely successful wrestler who won all sorts of other titles. Who better to have help you win everything except the world title than Arn Anderson?
That is a great point. However, if you're going to look at it, if you're thinking of it from
Vinny's
kayfabe,
thinking deeply
yes.
here.
That is quite the opposite, in fact.
Arn Anderson, when he was a professional wrestler, was with a group that spent their entire career tormenting and beating the hell out of
winners.
Cody's father.
Well, yeah.
Why would he trust Arn Anderson?
They did mention about that time they slammed his dad's arm in a car door.
Sure, exactly.
They were very mean to the Rhodes family.
But I mean, he's close to the family now. I don't have any idea why. I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah. So my point to all of this is, this match, Brian, this was a very good TV match. I agree with you there. But what struck out to me at the time was how very unusual it was. And that's good, because this was the not cookie-cutter match. They colored outside the lines here.
Oh, yeah.
And it worked.
Hey, you know, what was that noise?
That was me bumping I did this.
Don't punch anybody. So maybe one day, Dusty sat down with young Cody, and he said, "These assholes broke my arm, but god damn it, they were real men." I respect what they did to win.
You know, Brian, I hadn't thought of that.
I don't know why. He's a goddamn legend. Broke his dad's arm 30 years ago. He's over it.
He got better.
It healed. It's just an arm.
Jen Decker is interviewing SCU.
He can abide an arm.
SCU is talking about how even the Dark Order wants these titles. Nobody likes it when spooky perverts ruin their finish, they said.
Their finish?
That's what they said. Kaz is making a bunch of football references because they're in Jacksonville. And Sammy Guevara interrupts. Says, I know you guys got the titles. But he turns to Daniels. You got nothing except wrinkles and losses.
Oh, wow.
So Daniels challenges him for next week and then licks his finger and smudges up the screen on Sammy's phone. And Sammy's appalled. He's trying to wipe it clean. And he grabs the hem of Jen Decker's outfit and says, give me your dress. And she, of course, is outraged and storms away. This is not meant as a lewd comment on Sammy's part. It was just convenient fabric there to wipe his phone.
His phone was wet.
That's what he cared about, yes.
We'll get to lewd behavior with the women later.
Well, we have a four-way for the women's title. Is this
That's not what I'm talking about. You didn't notice this?
Maybe I did. I was forgetting.
You didn't notice this little creepy Marco stunt leering all over the lady?
Of course I noticed that.
Okay, that's what I'm talking about.
Yes, I just forgot it until you mentioned it. A four-way for the women's title. Nyla Rose versus Hikaru Shida versus Britt Baker versus Rio. So they had a story to tell here, which is that Nyla Rose is a big, scary monster, and by and large, for the most part, it took two of them to cut her off whenever she was out of control to killing everybody. So it's a good, simple story. It was not 1-on-3. They wrestled each other too. Shida got put through a table, but came back at the end. Hit a big superplex. It was actually very scary. And Nyla missed a double senton, nearly landed on her head. There's a bunch of near falls. And then Rio pins Baker with a cradle to win. So Rio retains the title. Nyla as a monster killed everyone, is still very scary, and that's that.
Britt was putting the lockjaw on Shida. Shida reversed it, and then Riho flew in with the sunset flip for the pin.
Aha.
That's a key point to this.
Does play into what happens later.
Also, something to maybe pay attention to down the road. Shida had a near fall on Nyla Rose. And when Nyla kicked out, the crowd frantically started booing. They were not happy about that at all.
Well, it was also because it was very close, and they were mad at the ref.
So after the match, Nyla did in fact attack Rio, put her through a table. I would guess it'll be Nyla versus Rio at Revolution.
Okay, so I don't have a lot of complaints about this show, but I do have one which plays into another. And that is that when Nyla laid out Riho afterwards, the announcers were talking about how she could be suspended for all of 2020. Now, she had done something dastardly that I forgot about.
She put a ref through a table.
That's right. She put the ref through the table, and they suspended her for the rest of the year. This was like the second week of December.
So she was suspended
like 2 weeks.
3 weeks, two of which there were no shows.
Yeah, maybe 3 weeks, and yeah. So anyway, I guess they did do a suspension, but between the suspension threats and the threats of a DQ, there needs to be a consequence soon. Whether it's somebody's actually going to get disqualified or someone's actually going to get suspended for a longer length of time. We have these announcers every week talking about how something might be a DQ, and we have never seen a DQ. Like, just do one. Do one DQ every year, and then you can threaten all you want, and I'll be fine with it. But we have a promotion that has never done one single disqualification on any show ever, and I got these announcers telling me that something might be a DQ. It's white noise. Give me one DQ. That's all I'm asking.
So next week, it's Rio defending her title again, I guess, against Chris Statlander.
Yes.
They made a point she'll have to defend her title twice in 8 days. Now, I believe Statlander was supposed to get the shot on this show, but had a prior commitment.
Correct.
So it would have been nice if they just explained that, but oh well. Joey Janela is about to cut a promo, but Penelope Ford immediately nutshots him. He goes down, and Penelope and Chris Sabian laugh at him and walk off. I may have missed something, but I don't think there was any mention here of the past between Penelope Ford and Joey Janela.
They did not.
Yeah. So here's a great thing about AEW. When something doesn't work, they don't force it down your throat 8 weeks in a row until you accept it. They say, you know what? that didn't work right. Let's dial it down and try again. They did the last show they did. The Dark Order laid out the Elite. It sucked. Everyone hated it. All anyone's going to remember is the horrible punches by the guy on top of Dustin Rhodes. So rather than have the Dark Order all over the show, and rather than take them off entirely and just pretend it never happened, they just had him do one bit. Evil Uno is shown reporting to Dr. Claw, a faceless authority figure, the Exalted One, is what he called him. He reported they had attacked the Elite and laid them out, and the Exalted One replied it was wonderful. And I assume then petted his cat.
I guess so. So, I mean, you are right that people didn't like the angle, and so they dialed it down. But that was the big angle to end the year. The Dark Order destroyed every top babyface, and we had almost zero follow-up. Except Evil Uno. Evil Uno, by the way, he told the Exalted One, it is done. Wrong! All of the Elite were here on the show, and they all won. Sounds to me like, if anything, he failed at his mission.
But how do you know what his mission was? His mission was to beat him up on that show.
The Exalted One's mission is, hey, go beat the hell out of the babyfaces so they start winning. That'll help with our takeover.
Maybe he's betting on them.
Well, they're only looking for losers.
Well, that's true.
Yes, Ken.
Oh, producer Ken.
Maybe his mission was to convert Adam Page. And he said, that is done. And Adam Page is not the leader.
What? They didn't beat up Adam Page.
I know, but maybe he converted him.
Maybe they didn't beat him up, Brian.
I see. So that's what has been done. They've got Adam Page. Well,
it may have been.
Well, maybe.
Trent versus Jon Moxley. So we had seen Sammy and Cody and Darby. Cody and a lot of E's. Cody and Darby in the opener did mostly grappling. Then we had a four-way, which was like all four-ways, a bit of a cluster. Now we have Trent and Jon Moxley who are out here doing a almost New Japan-style heavyweight stiff match. It's all chops and high-impact moves. Orange Cassidy gets in the ring to distract Moxley. They do a bit of comedy, but the distraction is effective. Now this is a key. Cassidy gets in the ring, which should be a disqualification, but Moxley steps up and tells the ref, no, don't disqualify him. I want to see how this goes. And they do a bit of comedy, and Mox puts his hands in his pockets, and Orange is appalled. But he turns around, Trent hits a knee strike and a pile driver for two, so the distraction was effective. But then when Trent tries to follow up, Moxley catches him with a paradigm shift on the ramp, and another one in the ring for the win, and everything on the show had been very good so far.
Jon Moxley is so much better doing New Japan style than WWE style.
Yes.
That's my big revelation that's my New Year's revelation. Jon Moxley works better New Japan style than WWE.
I would argue he does everything better outside WWE.
Well, that's true.
It is sometimes hard to believe they're the same person. So after the match, Sammy Guevara appears in the crowd to appeal to Moxley. He says, I'm doing your entrance. I see why you do it. You get something to drink. And he steals a Pepsi. You can get some popcorn. And he takes some popcorn, tosses it into his face, and then starts to cut a promo with his mouth full, which is the best heel move. Says he wants to celebrate with Mox, and in fact, they have a big surprise. And he gestures to the video screen where Chris Jericho appears. Says, I know there's a lot of factions in AEW asking people to join.
Jericho is in Japan, so
okay.
Got a pre-tape here.
Yeah. There's a lot of factions asking people to join. I'm offering you more than a black mask or a lock of hair. Jon Moxley, I want you to lead the inner circle with me. We will be even partners.
Oh, God.
What
a day I had with this.
I am offering 49% of Inner Circle LLC.
All right, so when he said 49% for Moxley, and he's going to be an equal partner, okay, I knew that 49% was not half of 100. That's the most I could get, okay? So then I was like, okay, so 49%, that would mean that all of the other geeks are splitting 1%. Then somebody on the board is like, well, 1% for each of them is 4%. Your math is wrong. And I was like, no, I didn't say that. Okay. I said they're all splitting 1. Then somebody said, well, if they all split 1, that's still 99%. They need to split 2. Okay? So the conclusion I came to was Jericho is at 49, Moxley would be at 49, and all of the other geeks in the inner circle are all splitting 2%.
That's the conclusion you came to.
Yes.
This is
so
the
then
new Steiner math.
Jericho on Twitter
Thank you.
said,
Which I, even before seeing the tweet, immediately knew.
he said, no, I own 100%. These guys owe nothing.
Yes.
And I thought, well, you better hope none of those other guys read your tweet.
Well, they work for him.
Oh, come on.
Brian,
And he's going to give this other guy 49%?
do you know what percentage of FWOnline.com I own?
0.
Correct.
And it's going to stay that way.
That's fine. I'm not complaining.
But anyway, he was an ass about it.
I'm not going to quit because you won't be part of the
Well,
company.
anyway, the point of all of this is, so I guess what he meant to say is, it's a joke.
Yes.
He's going to give him half, and
Yeah!
that means 49%.
He's a heel.
Fuck you, Vince. I know he's a heel, but he's trying to get something out of this guy.
Yes, 'cause
Don't be so transparent.
He thinks Moxley's
And
as dumb
then,
as he is.
then he lied about the Ford GT. Said worth millions of dollars.
A blatant lie.
That's only $500,000.
Blatant lie. Yes, Brian, he's full of shit.
He should have said the Mox license plate was another $500,000. That's how it got over $1 million. I might believe that.
So he
I never tried to get a vanity plate.
He kept offering Moxley all these things if you say yes over and over. In the process, he begins to gloat. Well, he's talking about all the things they'll do to their common enemies in Cody and the Bucks and Omega. And in the middle of this, he manages to work in a gloat about his big win over Jungle Boy. Because he's full of shit. Wishes Moxley a happy new year. Looks forward to hearing from him soon. And drives away in the Ford GT.
I can't believe I spent so much time on that 49%.
I can't either. So Moxley says, in all seriousness, fancy expensive cars aside, I have always considered Chris Jericho a friend and a mentor. And out of respect, I will give him an answer in person next week. The whole world will learn what's in store for 2020 live on Dynamite next week.
Fans booed because they wanted it tonight.
Of course they did. But you know what? This is all going so...
Only 49% booed, though.
This is
so
going-
half of them were happy about this.
That's also a lie. You are also full of shit.
Get out of here, Vinny. What are you talking
As
about?
most people. Regardless, this angle is going awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome.
Well, yes, it's great.
Sammy Guevara versus Dustin Rhodes. No, it's funny, Brian. You mentioned Arn Anderson, a very successful wrestler who was never world champion.
Yeah,
And it's a different era now.
like me.
It's very difficult to be in WWE for long and not be world champion.
I'm the show's Arn Anderson.
Dustin Rhodes may be the best active wrestler who was never world champion anywhere.
Sure, yeah.
He's at least in the U.S. So they're doing this match. Hager comes out to distract Dustin. And Jim Ross is sickened. I would say Boomer sooner, but he doesn't deserve it. The harshest thing Jim Ross can say about a man.
Absolutely.
So this was a WWE match. Because every match on the show was different. That's good. That made it all very watchable. It was also a really good WWE match. That helped as well. So Dustin, out of nowhere, decides, I will do a Canadian Destroyer on the apron.
Anywhere in the world did Dustin win a world championship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dustin does the Destroyer on the apron. Even Hager's beside it. Jake Hager never shows any emotion in this. He's the big hurt. He just stands there and looks mean. But when Dustin did this Destroyer, Hager's eyes bug out. He grabs his head. He hopes Sammy's alive. Sammy is alive. The match continues. Jim Ross... Dustin puts him in the corner for the... They call it the unnatural kick. Because I guess they can't call it Shattered Dreams. Jim Ross is just appalled by Sammy Guevara's wedgie. Just cannot handle it.
It was very distracting.
The ref unhooks Sammy in the process. Hager hits his MMA finishing move, the low blow. And Dustin goes down. Dustin's down in a heap. Sammy doesn't bother hitting a move. He scrambles over and pins him. That was awesome. The show ruled.
As excuse me. As an aside, is there anyone in wrestling who has a more, and I mean this as a highest compliment, has a more punchable face than Sammy Guevara?
We bring it up all the time. It's
He's the
true.
greatest.
That's what makes him so great.
Do you know that Goldust won a Slammy in 2010? Are you ready for this? Frequent tweeter.
Oh.
In 2010.
Huh.
I don't think he'd win that award this year.
I do not.
That'd go to Dave.
Would he do an acceptance speech?
He might. He'd tweet it.
He would if I created a burner account and trolled him about what a stupid award it was. And he would argue with me.
Yes.
Jen Decker interviews Private Party, who are in fact still alive. They won in that tournament. They lost in that tournament, and I don't remember seeing them since. So they're openly flirting with her. They're in a bar, which apparently is their bar. They have a bar they bring around the country, I guess. Hangman walks in and begins to pour himself a drink. First, they're angry with him for storming into their bar and drinking their hooch. But then they admit they're really worried about him. He says, you don't need to worry about me. I can whip both your asses. Your party sucks. And he walks out. And he walks back and he gets his drink and he walks out.
This is not a subtle heel turn.
No.
He's an angry drunk. You know what he was in the main event? He was me on this show when he was doing commentary on the Christmas show.
Yeah.
Just drank too much and talking a bunch of shit.
MJF comes out for a promo. Have we mentioned how good MJF is at promos?
Speaking of shit, he got the word shit this week.
He did. He got the shit tag. So he fucks with the fans a bit, and then he has his stipulations that he demands for his match with Cody. Stipulation number 1. The match must be at Revolution. And until then, if Cody even lays one finger on him, no match at Revolution, no match ever.
Yeah.
Stipulation 2. Cody must defeat Wardlow in what I believe will be Wardlow's first AEW match.
Yes.
Inside a steel cage.
Yes.
If he does not defeat Wardlow in a cage match, he will not get the match against MJF at Revolution. Stipulation 3. I still can't believe this.
It's so ridiculous.
Stipulation 3. Live on TNT on Dynamite, if I beat you, you, before your family, your
Wait,
friends...
is it if he beats him or he has to do this before the match?
I assumed it was if he beats him.
I think this is before the match. These are the stipulations to get the match.
Well, that changes everything. That's even more ridiculous then.
Let me double check here.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I think happened. You correct me if I'm wrong. Live on TNT, before your family, your friends, and he looks to the heavens, and God, you will get down on all fours like a dog, and I will whip you. And he goes into detail, not once, not twice, not 10 times, because yes, they're doing 10 lashes to the loser.
No, Vinny.
I'm wrong.
According to the front page here, it says MJF said the only thing standing in the way of their match, standing in the way of the match, are a few tiny stipulations.
Okay.
I think he must be whipped before the match will take place.
That's even stranger.
Yes.
Frankly, we go back to the creepy perverts line that Scorpio Sky had. But yes, is this 2020 or 1920? Talking about men getting lashed in a wrestling ring. It was wacky, but MJF is great. Jen interviews the Jurassic Express. So you had a dinosaur, a jungle boy, and a horny little troll in Marco Stunt who just keeps reaching for Jen Decker's body. Has to be a strain over and over again. Jungle Boy says he proved he could go 10 minutes with Jericho. His next mission, and this is a good one, he's looking for a win. That is a good one to have. And Luchasaurus looks in the camera. He says, life finds a way. Roar. And that's what he said. Yep. He didn't make a roar noise.
He said roar.
He said roar. Hangman Page joins the announce desk, complete with 1980s sitcom introduction credit shot. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's already out there. They edited him into the beginning of a Full House.
That was just really good.
It fits perfect.
Okay, so let me go back because I'm trying to find out for sure, Vinny, since now you've confused me. I think I'm right. I think you're wrong.
All right.
But I'm gonna try to get confirmation before the show ends. Because if I'm right, it's fantasy booking time.
Okay.
If I'm wrong, it doesn't matter. Okay. So anyway, that Jungle Boy promo starts, and I mean, it was a half second in. I'm like, why the fuck is Marco staring at her? Looks like a little creep. What's he doing? Like, I didn't know until later that was his new character. I actually just was wondering why he was leering at her. Because we're supposed to be looking at Jungle Boy and her asking the question. The other two members of Jurassic Express are just there. So my thought is, we're not supposed to be looking at Marco. He doesn't think we're looking at him, and he's taking this opportunity to check out her boobs.
I mean, to be fair, they're very nice. So,
and then later we find out that, in fact, Apparently his gimmick is he's just horny.
Apparently.
Well, it's something.
I suppose it is.
I mean, gotta get a character over. And that's a character, all right. I hope his mother's not watching.
So, Brian, I've come to AllEliteWrestling.com.
What's it say?
I had the results. It says in bold here, by the way, the place is Daly's Place is the name of the building in Jacksonville. MJF, accompanied by Wardlow, walked down to the ring. I'm good at podcasting.
You want to send it to me and I'll read it?
No, I'll try again. MJF, accompanied by Wardlow,
have Rob read it.
Walked down to the ring to announce his stipulations in order for Cody to have his match at Revolution.
Yes, exactly.
And stipulation 3, it quotes what he says. It does not say if I beat you.
Yes, that's what I told you.
You by what he said, Brian, you are correct. To get the match.
Goddamn right, I'm correct.
To get the match.
I don't know why you second guessed me anyway.
To get the match, Cody must be whipped.
Okay, so listen.
MJF.
Now I'm in a fantasy book. All right.
All right.
Okay, so. What does Cody want here?
He wants a match with MJF.
Okay, why does he want a match?
Because MJF betrayed him.
I know, but why does he want a match?
To prove that MJF is not better than him.
He wants to get his hands on the guy and beat his ass,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. I guess you could say he wants to prove he's better, but really he just wants to beat the shit out of this guy, okay? So you're telling me that he's going to get in the ring and get on all fours like a dog and get whipped with a fucking leather strap 10 times so that they can have a professional wrestling grappling match?
Apparently, yes.
Okay. This can't happen. Because, all right, Cody needs to get in there for this strapping, okay? Mm-hmm. And as MJF gets his strap all ready and he does whatever you do, polishes it up, Cody needs to leap to his feet and grab the strap and whip the ever-loving shit out of this guy like 100 times.
Okay.
And then MJF, maybe not 100 times because then you're giving away too much, but he's got to get that strap and he's got to give this guy a strapping. Then MJF can demand that they do the match because Cody has broken the stipulations, right?
Apparently, yes. Yeah.
So MJF, these are MJF's personal stipulations. These are not like company stipulations.
Right.
These stipulations are okay to break.
Okay.
So he needs to get his hands on this fucker when this guy gets in the ring and beat the shit out of him. And then MJF needs to demand a match with Cody. This way, Cody comes out of it looking like the smart one. Right? How smart does Cody look to get on his knees and get his ass whipped 10 times
Not very smart.
by MJF so that they can have a grappling match together?
Not very smart.
No.
I found a couple of other reviews, Brian. They see it your way, too.
Yes.
I'm the wrong one.
Yeah, so I think that's what needs to happen here. Somehow Cody has to come out of this looking smart. And getting on all fours and getting whipped 10 times to have a match, I'm not sure they're going to be able to pull that off. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Jen Decker is trying to interview Rio they say it's Jen Decker. It's in fact Alex Marvez.
That's definitely not Jen Decker.
No. God bless Alex, but I was disappointed. Michael Nakazawa is there to translate, but before anything can happen, Britt Baker interrupts. And she's a mad dentist. She says, I've been here every week. You just walk in, steal a win, and you disappear again. I'm on every show, and I'm still operating my dental practice. She's furious about Rio showing up, stealing a win, and leaving again, and she storms away. And Rio had an answer, but frankly, both her answer and Nakazawa's translation were too quiet for me to hear. So, Brian, you had something you wanted to say about Britt Baker and wins being stolen.
Didn't she say that she stole the win from me?
She may have.
Okay, because if that's the case, that didn't happen.
Right.
She stole the win. Her hold had been reversed.
Yeah.
So that's all I'm saying. Like, I think that is just, she's a heel. Why is Britt Baker a heel?
She was definitely a heel here.
I know, it's weird.
I don't know. But maybe she's an evil dentist.
Well, I mean, she is clearly an evil dentist now. I just don't know why. They pushed her so hard as a babyface. Now she randomly just got really mad. That was weird.
Long-term resentment building up inside her about Rio not being on every show.
That anger management isn't going to be good for dental practice.
No. I'm sure she gets that. I would bet dentists work out a lot of issues.
That I don't think that's helping that's going to help their practices.
I listened to Steve Martin sing about dentistry in Little Shop of Horrors. I know what dentists are like.
Fair.
Next week on AEW Dynamite, The Rhodes. Not the Rhodes Brothers. The Rhodes versus...
The Rhodeses.
Not even the Rhodeses. The Rhodes versus the Lucha Brothers. Page and Omega versus Private Party. And that graphic appears on the screen, and Hangman Page says, "That's news to me." And as well, Moxley's answer to Le Champion.
Hangman had 2 good lines on this show. One was that one, and the other was during the main event, Elite, Lucha Brothers, and Pac, as Nick and Phoenix are just tearing it up. Jim Ross says, "There's no 2 wrestlers I'd rather watch than Nick Jackson and Phoenix." Hangman takes a shot and says, "Thanks, Jim."
It was awesome.
A very awkward moment. I laughed.
Perfect. It was perfect.
Hangman's going to be way better off as a heel.
I believe you're right.
Way better off.
I believe you're right. So Nick and Phoenix, as you noted, tore it up for a minute or two. Then they went to commercial, and they came back, and immediately Omega got a hot tag. And I thought, well, this has been kind of fun, but with the commercial in the middle, doesn't look like it's going very long. It's going to be hard to get into this. Just not like it's going to be a forgettable main event. And then the last 3 or 4 minutes, Kenny Omega apparently decided that he was going to start 2020 by reminding us all that he is one of the very best professional wrestlers on the planet Earth.
Good.
Oh my God, he was great. And yes, I realized he was great with Phoenix and he was great with Pac. And they're also great. But the last 4 minutes of this was such fire. It was so awesome. And the key is, they wanted Omega to look like the man, which meant the Bucks had to sell a lot and get beat up a lot, and he had to go save them. But they also couldn't have the Bucks be geeks. So at one point, after fighting 1-on-3, Omega gets overwhelmed, and Pac gets the black arrow, and he makes a cover, and then the Bucks save. So they still helped. They contributed. And the match continues, a bunch of back and forth, and Omega catches Phoenix with a kick and pins him with a one-winged angel. Omega was the man to end all men in this match.
Dude, they went absolutely crazy when this guy won this match. And they had a near fall in there. And it was actually... it might have been Pac and the Brutalizer. I'm not sure what it was, but... it was Pac hit the black arrow, and the Bucks had to make the save for Omega. Then he puts him in the Brutalizer, and the Lucha Brothers are stopping the Bucks from getting in the ring to break it up. So he's all alone in there in the move that he got beat with. And they finally make it in there. He hits the V-trigger out of midair, hits that one-winged angel. This place absolutely... They were so happy to see Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks as winners. You never seen a crowd so happy because people just won.
Yeah.
That's what this was. And they kicked off 2020 with a win. I mean, it was that was what this whole show was built around. And when they paid it off, everybody was so happy. I think there's a message here that these guys need to start winning some matches.
It would be good.
And being pushed as big-time stars, which the fans see them as being. And then they wanted Hangman in the ring, but he just left. And as we know, he's no longer in the Elite anyway.
They called him down. Cody came out to celebrate with the Bucks and Omega, and the 4 of them turned to Hangman and said, "Come on down!" And he just waved them off and said, "Nah, man, I'm good." So yes, I guess they got time to do it, but they could do the Page turn and do Page and Omega at Revolution. Revolution's in February, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they got 8 weeks. They could do that. Anyway, Dynamite was awesome.
Well, I mean, do we need to really do this this deal back and forth? Did we do it last week when there wasn't an AEW show?
We did not do it. There was no AEW show.
All right.
And
I mean, this was a show.
Technically, there was an episode of NXT that aired.
There was a head-to-head battle this week. There was not last week.
If I must pick a winner, the winner is obviously AEW, but it feels like an unfair fight.
Well,
But
that's what NXT decided to put on.
All right. Then I'm voting AEW, Brian.
All right, I'm voting AEW as well. Rob, you get a vote even though it's not going to be official. So if you want to vote for NXT just to be that guy, you're welcome to.
I would never want to just be that guy.
Actually, now that I think about it, should this start over again? Like the AEW records?
It could.
Well, put a thing in there that this is now 2020.
I got the date marked. I can filter that later.
So I guess we can crown the winner of 2019 as AEW.
The winner of the Wednesday Night Wars for AEW by final... Actually, let me check that. The final margin then is 13-8 with 3 ties.
Oh.
All Elite Wrestling was the better
All
Wednesday
Elite
Night show
Wrestling
in 2019.
crowned the winner of the Wednesday Night Wars for the year of 2019. We are now starting 2020. And unfair advantage. Actually, it's not really an unfair advantage.
Fair.
I just argued it.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, NXT had the opportunity to do a live show. They didn't. They had a show on.
They put a show on.
Yep.
It was
Last week, AEW was preempted for A Christmas Story. There was no show. So that's the way things go. AEW with a 1-week lead heading into 2020. All right, anything else, everybody? Rob, anything you'd like to promote?
AEW Dynamite, also January 8th, 2020. They were in Memphis. They did the tribute to Memphis Legends, unfortunately, before the show. They were barely on this program.
Well, it's on Dark next week.
But Dave Brown was there to call this opener. And Dave Brown is awesome. And as they noted, the only thing that would have made it better is if Lance could have been there too. Lance Russell, the great and classic, I say, Memphis wrestling announcer, who unfortunately could not be there. We opened with Adam Page and Kenny Omega versus Private Party. It went away eventually, but what the hell was that giant hum at the beginning of this match?
I don't know. There's something weird with the audio at the beginning of the show.
Was it a beehive?
The announcers were very quiet. The audience was very quiet. They eventually got it fixed, but it felt like they were in an empty building for a while there, and the announcers were just yelling with no microphones.
It felt like there was a very hot building with no AC, and they all had fans blowing into their microphones.
Could have been.
Yeah. So Isaiah Cassidy needs to stop shrieking like a dog toy every time he gets hit. The very first time, it's funny, but funny in a bad way, because he's not supposed to be a heel. We're not supposed to laugh at him like a geek. And then every time after that, it is go-away heat.
Well, the thing with this show, and once again, the numbers were steady throughout the entire show, so none of this ran anybody off. But I still think that I should express my dislike for certain things. There's certain things they do in the show that are things that I feel are going to get over big at an indie show, but it doesn't work on national television.
All right.
And this guy doing that squeal, it was driving me out of my mind. Guy's supposed to be a babyface. And if you did this on an indie show in front of 200 people, like everybody would laugh and it would be like a fun spot. But on national television, it's like, why is this geek squealing like this? It makes the guy unlikable, and he's supposed to be a babyface.
Yes. So, if you thought they did a lot of moves in that Imperium match on NXT, they did a year's worth of moves in this match, and it may have done a year's worth of angles as well.
Well, it was one major angle.
They were kind of the same thing repeated, and by the end, it still hadn't gone anywhere. But watching this long highlight reel is Dave Brown, classic Memphis announcer, whose first comment that we hear in the entire show is, "These tag teams are much faster today."
Sure are.
They definitely are. And then later, somebody missed something. I lost track. But Dave calmly explains, that's what these young wrestlers have to avoid. Those costly mistakes.
He's not wrong.
Dave Brown's the best.
Yeah, apparently he's awesome on Dark. But they had 4 guys here, and so he was just sort of sitting there.
They had 4 guys there, and it felt like they were doing him the honor of bringing him on the show, and he was doing them the honor of appearing. But it did not seem like, honestly, his heart was in it that much. He, one time, called any of these men by name, and you could tell he was reading from notes when he did it.
He did mention Private Party's name.
He did.
They're very athletic.
They are.
I mean, he's not wrong.
So they kicked
He's got credibility with me.
Yeah, that's true. They kicked out of 7,000 things. Page and Omega, at least twice in this match, accidentally hit each other. There may have been more. I'm not sure. And none of it mattered because they won anyway. When they both hit they hit like a sandwich V-trigger lariat, I think, or super kick, whatever. And Omega got the win with a one-winged angel. So in the end, we're right back where we started anyway.
Well, no, because they've done a few tag matches, and the first time, the stuff they do was so subtle that they had to tell us the next week. Now things are much less subtle. You can't miss it. But this is not WWE where they have a pay-per-view every month. They don't have a pay-per-view till, when's a pay-per-view? Like the end of February, early March?
Something like that.
It's a long-ass way away. Mm-hmm. So we have to go very slowly on these angles.
Well, it's funny.
Slow build.
This felt to me like they had went quickly. This felt to me like at least 2 weeks worth of angles, because you could have done one guy hitting the other, and even if you could do then some kind of screw job finish, but they can be upset. Hey, You hit me in that match. I'll make it up to you. We'll try again next week, and everything will go fine. And then the next week you do the match, and the other guy accidentally hits his partner.
Well, yeah, you could do that.
You could do tensions rising. Instead, it's just friction. So, anyway. Backstage, Pac is attacking somebody.
Michael Nakazawa, the guy he attacked 4 weeks ago. He did it again.
Why does this guy keep showing up?
I want to know why he doesn't have security. I mean, it seems like he's got a target on him.
Or a weapon.
Yeah.
Carry a knife or something. Yeah. So Pac is screaming, this will continue. Kenny's cowardice did this. It's going to happen again until he gets his one-on-one rubber match. And they cut back to the ring where Paige and Omega are watching in distress. And Paige says, go save him. And Omega says, I will. And he runs to the back as fast as he can. And Paige saunters off to the crowd to drink their beer.
Yes. That was good.
That was good.
Now, my problem here, I talked about yesterday, what the hell happened? Kenny Omega ran backstage to help his friend. There's an hour and 40 minutes left in the show, and I have no idea what happened. Did he find Pac?
Maybe he's still running.
I don't know.
Maybe they're in a long building.
And listen, I don't need to see video of it, but one of the announcers should tell me what happened at some point on this show. How many times do we watch those NWA shows and Dusty goes running after whoever and, they tell us what happened. They give us an update. We had no update here. He could still be running. They could be doing a foot race across the United States right now. And we're not going to know until BTE. I want to know yesterday.
Tonight on AEW Dynamite, Moxley's answer to Le Champion, The Best Friends and Orange Cassidy versus the Jurassic Express, Sammy Guevara versus Christopher Daniels, Cody and Dustin Rhodes versus the Lucha Brothers, and in our opener for the AEW Women's title, Chris Statlander versus Rio.
Yeah.
But first, on the commentary desk is one Brandy Rhodes.
Yeah, she was.
This must never happen again.
Oh, Vinny.
Oh
my!
I had flashbacks to Michael Cole heel play-by-play guy. She was ruining every part of the show with everything she said. She's burying Excalibur. She's burying JR and Tony. She's burying Statlander. She's burying Rio. Her own crew comes out, Kong and Mel, who we'll get to later. She buries them as well. Now, this is the most irritating, grating thing I've ever heard. She just hates everyone. And then I had an epiphany. Is that what it's like listening to us talk about WWE and hating everything? Because that sounds awful. So yes, Brandy Rhodes, a fail on commentary. A massive failure.
I got 14 messages immediately after this segment ended. That was just in my email bin. I'm not even talking about texts or tweets or anything like that.
Emails.
Yeah. That's a lot of really upset people who, by the way, kept watching. But maybe not those exact people, but I mean in general.
Maybe others heard about how horrible it was and tuned in to see it.
Maybe. I don't know.
So, Britt Baker and Hikaru Shida are shown pouting in the crowd. And Brandy, in as irritating a manner as possible, asks, well, why are they here? Why are they so upset? And Jim Ross gives the simplest answer. They're not booked.
Well, they're not booked, but they're interested in who might win the women's match. Then she gets on Excalibur for why are you wearing a mask?
And he explains.
I'm like, well, he's a wrestler. I mean, hello? Why do you think he's wearing a mask?
I was a professional wrestler. I came up as a luchador. I'm keeping my mask on. That's it. A lot of the things she pointed out are, in fact, things that people have criticized about this show. And when she points them out, that's why it's, beyond being irritating, that's why it's counterproductive. You don't point out things about your show that are actually bad. So, they're doing this match. There was a delayed superplex that scared the hell out of me. And then Kong and Mel came out. Now, Mel was a fan who wanted to be in the Nightmare Collective and let them cut her hair, so now she's part of the crew. Somehow, in between now and then, she's like a dominant monster ass kicker.
Well, there have been some very, very intense training sessions in the last 4 weeks.
Are you making that up, Brian?
Well, I mean, obviously there are, because she's going to be in a match next week.
So, Statlander, Topes, both of them.
Ken's about to have a heart attack over here, by the way. Just listen to this.
Brandy comes out to distract Statlander. Dr. Luther, former star of Tim Flowers' ICW promotion in Cloverdale, British Columbia.
Yes. Was he in the ring when I got pantsed?
Was it Lazenby who pantsed you?
It was definitely Lazenby, but their whole crew was there, so I don't know if Dr. Luther was one of those guys.
They were part of his crew, so I assume he was there.
Might have been.
Yeah.
Now I'm mad. This segment sucked.
So
he was terrible.
They called him a Japanese deathmatch wrestler.
He was.
I'm sure he was, but Excalibur's words were, well, look at his face. It looks like Luther. It is or it isn't, dude.
Well, he thinks it's Luther. We got to find out.
So they interfere and they lay Statlander out for Riho to get the pin. Riho and the referee never saw this. I couldn't tell if the match was still going or not, but it was. So Riho goes up top to allegedly hit her move, but she does a dive onto Luther instead, and then she gets back in the ring, and they just keep going. Like nothing happened, and we'll just do our wrestling match now. Riho eventually wins with a cradle. The Nightmare Collective attacks both women, and here is where Mel was a destroyer of worlds. Hikaru Shida made the save. Big Swole made the save. Sunny Kiss made the save, so I assume this is going to lead to a bunch of women and Luther versus a bunch of women and Sunny Kiss. And the only other notable thing is that Britt Baker did not save. She stayed in the crowd.
So a few things here. I mean, regardless of the ratings, I mean, this was not just people on the internet that hated this. I mean, the live crowd was giving this the Baron Corbin booing, that droning booing.
Yes. That
we hate this booing. So this was not good. I will defend nothing in this segment that people have complained about on the internet, except one thing. Even though the guy may have pantsed me at one point, can we at least give Dr. Luther like a couple of weeks? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everyone's so angry that Dr. Luther is involved in this thing, and it's like, Dr. Luther...
The least of our problems.
Well, I mean, it's one of them. Dr. Luther, this is the Nightmare Collective, okay? I can't remember the name of Dr. Luther's group in ICW. What the hell was it? Anyway.
May have been Armageddon. Oh, the Army of Darkness.
The Army of Darkness. The point of this is, like, obviously he's known Jericho forever. Mm-hmm. Obviously Jericho brought him in. Obviously Jericho believes that this guy playing the role of, I don't know if he's the leader, I don't know if he's the mentor,
I don't know any of these things.
I don't know if he's Dr. Claw, I don't know what he is. But obviously the idea is that this guy is going to help this group because Dr. Luther knows how to do this, okay? I don't know if he's right or wrong. It's been a week, and the fucking guy came out from under the ring and then ruined a women's match. Let's give him some time. Let's let him do some promos. Let's see what the guy does. If he sucks, then you can say he sucks. But maybe he won't suck. Because at one point, he was very good at this.
All I know was, say what you will about whatever happened in the ring, it led to Brandy being taken off commentary. Thus, it is an upgrade.
Well, that's true. She did go down to the ring. The referee was distracted for like 15 minutes somehow.
I legit, at one point, thought he had left.
I was just baffled.
I thought he had gone home.
It's like you went out to check on somebody who got dove on, and like she was down for so long, it should have been like a stoppage. Or like, where's the doctor? Something's wrong.
And then she just got back up.
And then she got back up and
the match
kept going.
just continued.
Yeah, I didn't like this segment.
No, it was just a thumbs down.
I thought this segment was bad.
The Nightmare Collective remains the worst thing in AEW by miles and miles. Kip Sabian video. That's all I wrote.
Well, Penelope Ford was there. They're trying to get her over, which should not be hard.
No. Zach Myers from Shinedown was there. May legitimately have been the biggest star in the entire show.
No. That would be Sammy Guevara facing Chris Daniels.
Christopher Daniels versus Sammy Guevara.
My hero, Sammy Guevara.
I am assuming that your favorite part was when I think he did like the moonsault and then did a backwards Fargo strut.
Well, he did do that.
Or the worst moonsault ever, whichever one you want to think. But
he is just so great. He's so douchey.
Absolutely.
Like, they better never try to turn him babyface. I'll be so mad.
I can't imagine anything worse.
He is like the he is like the anti... let me think about this. No, I can't even say it. Anyway, he's really good.
Well, now I'm curious.
Well, I can't even make this comparison. I'll never live it down, so I'm not even going to do it.
All right.
Get out of here, Ken. Don't even look at me like that.
So anyway, yes, Sammy Guevara is the best. Christopher Daniels also very, very good. So Daniels hits the Uranagi, which is the setup for the best moonsault ever. He is about to go for this when Pentagon Jr. appears on the ramp with a microphone, shouting, Amigo, go ahead, try it. Show me you can still do it. And now he has sown the seeds of doubt in Daniels' own head. And Daniels isn't sure if he can hit the BME. So he doesn't do it. He goes to attack Sammy, and Sammy ducks something, hits not even like a shining wizard. He just kneed him in the back of the head and pinned him.
I think it was a super kick. Might have been a knee and then a super kick to the back of the head, but one way or the other, he pinned him. 2 interference finishes in a row.
Yes.
Tim Flowers would never have allowed that. Not doing 2 in a row. Got to change the order of these matches.
So Sammy gets the win, and Pentagon grabs his belly and Pentagon Jr. also the best. At this point, the Dark Order video appears on the screen.
Their recruitment efforts suck, by the way, because Ken sent in Dave Meltzer's hair. I've heard nothing back from the Dark Order.
That's true.
And when I mentioned this on Observer Live, I started to get feedback from other fans who said they also attempted to join Dark Order and they had heard nothing back. So
he got all sorts of problems.
There might be some issues internally in the Dark Order.
So Evil Uno is putting Daniels over. Mentions he first met Chris Daniels 15 years ago. So they have some backstory there. But he says the AEW faithful do not believe in you anymore. They are the people saying you have lost a step. But I can help you get that step back. He offers Daniels a mask, asks him to join the Dark Order. Daniels teases accepting, then declines and attacks. They kill him, but SCU and the Young Bucks make the save. So they clean house. We had an angle. We had a confrontation, a fight, and the good guys have won. Segment should be over, but no. Grayson gets in the ring, notes that he's fighting them 4-on-1, gets his ass kicked. There's a bunch of dives. There's a bunch of super kicks, and finally Daniels does hit the BME.
Okay, so I liked this, but much like you talked about earlier, this was a storyline that could have gone longer. Because this whole story began and ended in this one segment.
Pretty much, yes.
I mean, there was the botch a few weeks ago, whether it was real or fake, I don't even know, but point of it is they went with it. So the story here is that Daniels made a mistake. Everybody said he didn't have it anymore. He gets in the ring with this guy. He goes for the BME. Pentagon makes him second guess himself, and he gets beaten.
Yes.
Okay. You could have done this for another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
They already paid it off. The payoff is, after he lost this time, the Dark Order tried to recruit him because they recruit losers, and he has been losing. He resisted the temptation, and after resisting the temptation, that gave him his confidence back, and he was able to successfully hit the BME.
Yep.
I liked it, but now that I think about it, they never had the spot where he tried the BME and killed himself.
Nope.
You know,
they had easily a month's worth of stories they could have done.
They could have gone a full month, and finally the Dark Order comes out. He turns down the mask. He gets his confidence back. He hits the BME. Like, again, I don't want to. I liked all of this. Just in looking at it, I feel like they could have gone so much further. Yes, Ken.
It's also the second babyface being offered to join a heel group.
Not just the second. They've had 50,000
Well, I just mean on the same show they did.
Yeah, we got another one in the main event.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes. There's a lot of recruitment efforts failing here.
They basically have one story they keep repeating.
They need a better recruiter somewhere. Someone's got to be a good recruiter.
The Lucha Brothers versus Cody and Dustin Rhodes.
What a match.
The highlights of this match were so awesome.
It was all Dustin.
And almost entirely Dustin and Phoenix. Ray Phoenix is a master of the sometimes lost art of rope running. Among all his many other talents, that guy can run the ropes. Phoenix tried to use a chair, Arn knocked it away. So, for the most part, this is a very, very good tag team match. There were some very clunky things. I don't know if it was a language barrier or the Lucha Brothers still learning the art of the U.S. tag match. But there was a few points where Dustin was just standing there, waiting to be attacked or waiting for guys to get into position or whatever. The worst of which was after Arn knocks the chair away from Phoenix, the Lucha Brothers turn to Arn and shout at him for a long time. Meanwhile, Dustin is lurching towards the corner. And he's lurching. He's on his feet, barely. And he's got his hand out for the corner, and he takes one step. And he takes one more step. And he takes a third step, and he's 6 inches away. If he takes another step, he'll make the tag. And time freezes. And he sits there, and he waits. He's getting older before our eyes. Slowly, he turns to look at the Lucha Brothers like, what the fuck are those guys? Eventually, they come over and cut him off. After that, everything went fine. I love that Dustin Rhodes now, in every match, as part of his regular arsenal, uses a Canadian destroyer.
Yeah.
But his finish remains a spinning suplex.
Yes.
That's funny. Regardless, it worked, and he pinned Phoenix with his spinning suplex. Now, I will say this. For all the clunkiness I've described, this crowd loved this match. Loved this match.
Okay, so you see a guy like R-Truth, who's almost 48, I believe, and it's like, my God, look at this guy. He barely looks any older than he was in the Monday Night Wars. And I don't know what the guy, like, I don't know what he does. You know, I don't know if he drinks or does whatever, but, I mean, he's never had, like, multiple public issues, okay?
Like
Dustin has.
Yes.
Okay. Not only is this fucking guy, how old is this guy? Is he 51 now?
Is he really?
This guy is...
We're about to watch his debut.
He's 50 years old. He's about to be 51 in April, okay? Not only is this guy almost 51 years old, but this guy had years of substance abuse issues. Mm-hmm. Years!
Yes.
Do you remember when he had that rat in Impact or whatever?
I was going to mention it, and it's lower on the list of problems than the substance abuse issues, but he also had massive weight gain.
No, but he was a mess then too.
Yes.
This guy was a mess for years. And you know, usually when you live a life like that, I mean, you ain't working like this at 51, much less 41. Now this guy is out there and he is fucking unbelievable in the ring.
Yes.
Now, I did see him at the last pay-per-view, and when he doesn't have the paint on, I mean, he's every bit of 51 years old.
Sure.
Okay. But he doesn't have a mask, but he has the paint. It's like when I watched Liger retire. It's like, you put a fucking wig on that guy and a full bodysuit and a mask, and it's like, he could be 19.
Did you see the picture? It was actually from like November or something. It was when Liger was working in Europe, and somebody got one picture where he's at the window of like just in the locker room looking out the window, and he's got the full suit and mask on, and he's got his hands against the window and he's hanging his head like he's sad. And the next photo, he's taking the mask off. You just see the back of his head, but he's looking up, up in the bright sky like he's free.
Yes.
Beautiful thing.
But anyway, point of this is, he's so good.
He's amazing.
Given everything. Like, I don't know. And then poor Cody's in there, and Pentagon's trying to kill this guy. He dropped him right on his neck with that pump handle driver that he does.
Yes, it did.
And Cody tried a middle rope Hurricane Run to land on the back of his neck. I thought he was dead in both cases, but he survived. And overall, this was a very, very, very good match. I loved this match.
Tony Schiavone then begins to ask Cody about MJF's stips. But before he can say anything, Arn Anderson interrupts, does all the talking. I don't know who died to beat MJF. God, he can make all these stips. The bottom line is this. This man, points to Cody, he wants the match, and we're going to talk about it. And they all leave, and the crowd boos because they wanted an answer.
What were they doing for the last week?
That's a great question.
They had a week to think about this.
I know Cody's busy.
Here's a storyline where they should have done this one this week because it's ridiculous. And some of these other ones stretch them out a little bit.
I'm sure at some point, Cody and Arn could have traded texts and figure out what they wanted to do.
Well, I can believe that Arn doesn't text.
That's fair.
But I mean, I'm sure he has a phone.
Yeah, I'm sure he does too. Alex Marvez interviews Lanny Poffo, the only Memphis legend who actually made TV aside from Dave Brown. They show the clips of all the legends in the ring being honored. Looked like a lot of fun. And Lanny talks about how great it was to be associated with those legends, how great it is to be a part of this show. He put AEW over, put the whole show over. He wants to contribute to this product, he says. And Marvez moved on to not ask how he wanted to contribute. They did plug Dark. Watch AEW Dark.
Maybe they should do some poetry contests like we do on the Brian and Vinny show.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Except you have
Sammy out there doing poetry and MJF.
You have Lanny Poffo, who'd win every week.
That's true.
Yeah. So they said...
Beat Lanny.
Watch. Many people have.
Lanny would come out and he would do a poem. And then some heel would come out and try and do a better poem. But invariably, they would not be able to beat Lanny.
And then he would moonsault them.
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So Marvez plugs AEW Dark to learn more about the Legends of Memphis, and that was it. MJF comes out for a promo. He calls out Cody, who gets DDP instead.
Yeah, I still can't figure out. This was another one where, like, I keep going back to Tim. But Tim, before every Temple Theater show, would go talk to every single person. He would ask them what they were doing. He would give them a yes or no on the finish and a yes or no on the match. And he'd basically, to him, the whole show needed to all make sense, okay?
Okay.
So, for example, you wouldn't have, like, a super kick finish in more than one match. Or if somebody was using a chair, like if the main event involved chairs, there would be no other chairs on the show.
He wanted all the heat saved for himself.
Well, I mean, there was that too, but I mean, he would never allow like 2 run-ins in a row.
Not very often.
It would have to be stretched out or whatever. So, if you were backstage at the Temple Theater with these guys, and MJF is going to call out Cody, and Cody's not going to show up, there's no way this segment goes right after Cody's match.
That did not make sense.
Where in the fuck was Cody? He was just out there a minute ago. So anyway, he doesn't come out, and DDP comes out instead. At least the announcer said, you know, Cody may be gone or getting medical attention. They at least tried to cover for Cody not coming out there. But as a viewer, it's like, where is this guy?
So Paige is being Diamond Dallas Page. He's still
loved it.
He's still great at being DDP.
He plugs his yoga.
Dude.
He gives you the name of the yoga. He gives you the website for the yoga. He gives you his Twitter handle. He gives his Instagram handle. Excalibur goes, is he paying for this airtime? And keep in mind, he's the babyface. Yes. Like, that's something you ask about a heel. But
he also plugged AEW, plugged TNT,
yes.
DDPY, all the social media.
Yes.
So the whole time this is going on, I watched the show actually right before I came over here. What got attention from this segment afterwards was that during this promo, MJF legit sent out a tweet asking how long this old fart's going to be talking. And that's what he said. Which is funny, but what I couldn't believe, what made me laugh much, much harder, is Dallas Page is looking right into the camera and speaking from the heart about how he never thought he'd have a chance to be back here on TNT ever again, and how much that means to him. And in the background, way in the background, this camera shot, he's in the corner, but there's MJF doing the jack-off motion, complete with full release. And I laughed my ass off. So, finally, MJF confronts him, and when DDP gets in his face, MJF says, whoa, I don't want to fight, but these guys might. Out come the Butcher and the Blade, his hired crew. So MJF tells DDP, you can either kiss the ring and get out of my company, or we will send you straight to hospice while I grab one of your diamond daughters and make her feel the bang.
I don't know why. It's such a nothing happening, basic, cheap heel line.
Because he's...
It was the way he built the whole thing up.
Because MJF is brilliant.
I didn't even see the punchline coming. But then once I did, I howled.
He's spectacular.
Yeah, he's great.
Paige, of course, responds with diamond cutters for the Butcher and the Blade. MJF is able to avoid one, and thanks to War Blow, as Paige called him.
Yes.
MJF hit a low blow, and they laid him out. And MJF gets in the camera and tells Tony that what happens to his mentor. So apparently DDP is Tony Khan's mentor now?
I guess. Or Tony Schiavone.
Maybe it's Tony Schiavone. Get him Tony Schiavone.
I don't think he's Tony Schiavone's mentor, though.
I'm not sure which makes less sense.
Yeah.
But eventually, QT Marshall and Dustin, not Cody Rhodes, make the save.
Well, clearly Cody wasn't there, but it was just too early. Like, maybe he did leave the building, but I mean, he must have gotten a car quick.
The last time we saw Cody, he was standing next to Dustin.
Yeah.
And doing just fine. Now Dustin's back and Cody's gone.
A little strange.
I should have done better. The Jurassic Express versus the Best Friends in Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy gets the hot tag. And he's making the Orange Cassidy comeback. Everyone's on their feet. Nothing in the building was a bigger success than Orange Cassidy in this entire show.
Well, it is interesting you say that because Dave and I were talking about this match last night, and this match undoubtedly got over huge to the live crowd. Mm-hmm. Live crowd loved Marco. He was a hometown guy. He comes from Memphis. They love Orange Cassidy. They're out there doing an indie match on national television. And this was, in fact, the lowest rated thing on the entire show.
Well, there you go. I've seen a lot of Canadian destroyers in my life, and they're all totally ridiculous. When Marco Stunt does one, it's the most ridiculous destroyer I've ever seen, and probably the most ridiculous Marco Stunt spot I've ever seen.
I just laugh because Trent built up a head of steam before taking this bump. Jumping.
So they go back and forth, and then Jungle Boy pins Chuck Taylor with a Hurricane Rana. The full original Hurricane Ramirez version.
You know, the other thing about him getting the win here was this was his New Year's resolution.
Yes, to get a win.
I would like to get a win in AEW. Mm-hmm. And listen, I liked this. I thought it was a lot of fun. I have no problem with the finish, but this was another finish where you could have built it up a little longer before he accomplishes his New Year's resolution. He did it on the first show after he made his resolution.
I would see your point, except he had been a part of AEW for like 3 months.
He did need a win by now.
He needed a win.
He did need a win by now. So yeah, that was fine. I have no problem with it.
I thought, go ahead.
No, it's just, as we talked about all show, so it was another one of those things that you make a resolution on the 1st, you accomplish it on the 8th.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought it was a very fun match, and it was definitely, this is important, different. Apparently not important enough to the people at home.
Well, I mean, let me make it very clear that, like, when I say it was the lowest rated thing on the show, it was, but, I mean, not by a lot. I mean, it was 20,000 viewers.
You didn't mention this. The show was stable.
It was very, very stable. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't like the show collapsed or something like that. It dropped from 941 to 897, and then back up to 970. So, like, it wasn't like people were like, "Oh my God, this Marco Stunt and this
dinosaur
orange peel. I can't watch this anymore." Yeah. And it was the quarter that. Well, anyway.
So in 2 weeks now, we're going to get the Jurassic Express versus Chris Jericho and Pride and Powerful on the Rock and Wrestling Rager Tour.
Yeah.
Next week on AEW, they're doing Bash at the Beach in January.
Well, they're at the beach.
I guess they're at the beach.
I mean, it's still the beach in December.
Will it actually be on the beach?
It's just cold there. I doubt it.
Pac versus Darby Allin. Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida versus Awesome Kong and Mel. And MJF and Butcher and Blade versus Dustin Rhodes, QT Marshall, and yes, Diamond Dallas Page.
Diamond Dallas Page returning to the ring.
What a weird-ass show that's going to be.
I think he's 64 years old.
I would believe that.
He moved great, and he took 2 bumps for those diamond cutters. And he's still 63 years old.
And he's still a star.
Yeah.
He still comes off like a total TV star. The Inner Circle comes out for their promo, and we go to commercial. Did you mention earlier how great Sammy Guevara is?
Yes, but I'd be happy to do it again.
Well, Sammy Guevara, they have the little picture-in-picture inset window. As the commercials are airing in the big screen, he's in the small screen. So Sammy Guevara says, what can I do to get the most out of this inset thing after we've already done our entrance? I can't, like, do a cool move or fight somebody.
Well, I mean, you could. They've done it before.
So what he did was he went to the route where he has a long series of signs that he holds up to the camera, and one by one reveals them to have a message for the people at home. I skip all of these picture-in-picture segments. I watched all of this and wrote down every sign. Up next, the most important event in television history. Jon Moxley makes his decision. Will he join the Inner Circle? The Ford GT? Equal partnership? All will be his. Not since the first moon landing, Elvis in Hawaii, or who shot Mr. Burns has there been this much anticipation, this much drama, and then in parentheses, TNT, stay tuned for the longest yard. Will he accept? Also, Salma Hayek, you want a booty call? Hit me up. And there's his social media tags.
I was somewhat surprised by that name.
It did come out of nowhere.
I brought it up on the show, and I suddenly was sent a myriad of pictures of her at the Golden Globes. That answered that question.
I had seen those pictures too. I forgot about it until right now. But yes.
I didn't.
Yeah.
It's like that Riddle promo.
Do you just compare Matt Riddle to Salma Hayek?
No, the promo to the picture.
I see. So, Jericho, as soon as the commercial is over, he promptly introduces Moxley. They're in Memphis, so Jericho's sure to bury Elvis Presley. He was a jackass. If he was here, I'd kick his butt. And the Beatles were way better. Tells Moxley the car is ready to go. Proud and powerful have Beale Street cordoned off for the inner circle only. Moxley, will you join the inner circle? And Moxley takes the mic. This went a very long time. He talked forever.
I'll cut to the chase.
Yeah.
He says, I've had a lot to think about. You and all these fans might think you know what makes me tick, but you don't. Jericho, you don't either. You offered me a car, money, 49% ownership. I don't want it. I didn't come here because someone backed a truckload of money up to my house. I cannot be bought. I'm here to run roughshod over AEW, and that is why my answer is yes. Jericho is so happy.
Sammy was happier.
Sammy and Jericho hug.
Jake Hager is just baffled.
Hager can't believe his ears. Moxley reveals an Inner Circle shirt.
Mm-hmm.
His explanation is, I came here to dominate, and what better place to dominate than in the Inner Circle? Jericho, he says, I believe in my heart that he is the greatest of all time. Jericho humbly nods. I am, in fact, the greatest of all time. He says, where am I here?
In the midst of all the celebration.
Bust open the bubbly.
Yeah, so let's open some bubbly. They're spraying bubbly everywhere. Everyone kills some time, I wrote. Moxley reminds Jericho, you do owe me a car.
Well, here's the thing. And I did get feedback today because I said, nobody believed that Moxley was actually going to join the Inner Circle. Even though there were fans out there that were chanting, you sold out. And I did get emails from people that said, you know what, for a second there I believed it. And I think one of the reasons was Moxley kept saying, hold on a second. And every time he said, hold on a second, you were thinking, okay, here it comes. And then he would say, I need the car keys. So every time they just dragged it out, and they dragged it out, and they dragged it out, and they teased and didn't deliver. And at the end of the day, they did convince people that he was actually going to join the Inner Circle. So he wants the keys to the $750,000 car. They gave the actual price this week. It's Shad Khan's car.
Yes.
It's a legit car. And that's when the fans chanted, you sold out. And Jericho says every night he's sold out because the Inner Circle means money.
And Moxley takes the keys to his car and says, I paid cash for a 2015 Dodge Ram. I was going to drive it till the wheels fell off. Very wise man, that's Jon Moxley. The other key to this was one throwaway line, but Jericho did brag about the fact they both won their matches at Wrestle Kingdom in the Tokyo Dome. Those exact words. So first they played Moxley's music. Then they said, cut the music. And they talked more. Then they played Jericho's music. I'm like, did they mistime this? Did they think the show didn't have an overrun, or did? It just went forever.
I think maybe they were trying to convince the fans that the show was off the air.
Maybe.
That it was real.
I don't know. But finally, Mox says, oh, Chris, I forgot. I was just kidding. I would never join the Inner Circle. It's a stupid group. By this time, I should add, Guevara and Hager have left. They got bored.
They're dancing around ringside. That's what they were doing. They were out at ringside dancing.
Jake Hager was dancing?
Well, Jake Hager was kind of watching him dance.
I see. That'll believe. So, yes. I was just kidding. I would never join the Inner Circle. It's a stupid group. You have nothing I want, except for that. And he points to the belt.
His delivery of that line was so awesome.
It's a stupid group.
It was just so funny because there's a way that people pretend to join a group and then they don't join the group in wrestling. We see it a million times. I don't think I've ever seen it done in such a wacky, matter-of-fact fashion. He joined the group, they celebrated for 10 minutes, and then his whole line is, I was just kidding. I would never join the Inner Circle. It's a stupid group. I loved it!
He breaks a bottle over Jericho's head. He DDTs him. And he runs to the hills.
Sammy hits the ring. He gets DDT'd.
Yes.
Jericho sells it like he's dead. Sammy sells it like it's dead. And Moxley escaped with a $750,000 car.
He didn't know he's still holding up the keys. He got a car out of all this, if nothing else.
The only negative is
it took so damn long.
Oh, come on. It was great. That was a point. They were trying to convince you that this was real. I loved it. This car, here's the problem with this segment. This is a $750,000 car, okay? Now, it's not a problem if Shad Khan decides, fuck it. I got billions. I'll buy another $750,000 car. Mm-hmm. But I watched this and it reminded me of the Attitude Era. It reminded me of an angle with Steve Austin and Jericho's playing the role of Vince, eating the stunner at the end. And I don't know who Sammy Guevara is, but he's just some other Attitude Era geek. You know what they could have done with this car?
What could they have done with the car, Brian?
There's so many stories you could tell with Jon Moxley, who was going to drive his Dodge Ram until the tires fell off. This guy could go off-roading. He could drive and get stuck in the desert.
Actually drive the GT out of a swamp.
He could like, drive through some construction area and get paint all over the car.
I see.
I mean, there's so many ways that you could slowly destroy this car more and more week after week. It's a $750,000 car, and it's Jericho's alleged car. So, like, he gets more furious every week at what's happening to his fucking car. There's so many things they could do, but you would have to destroy a $750,000 car. That's the only negative. The car should be an ongoing character. This car is over with me.
Well, that was that, Brian. That was AEW.
Well, AEW won.
I honestly, you know what? I'm going to vote for tie.
I thought about doing that.
I don't have a strong opinion.
I thought about doing that.
Sometimes we do these shows, and I don't have a strong opinion. I go over the recap, and I'm reminded of something particularly good or something particularly bad. I thought on the whole, they were both mostly watchable shows. The worst thing was on AEW, but it was a short thing in the opener. They moved on. And I don't know. I thought both shows were pretty close, so I vote tie.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, the AEW, the Nightmare Collective thing was awful, but I mean, all right, All Elite Wrestling.
Yes, we also watched AEW Dynamite on January 15th, 2020. So it's Bash at the Beach tonight. But
awesome.
We begin with a memorial graphic for Rocky Johnson, and then it's been a terrible week in wrestling. And Jim Ross also notes the passing of Kendo Nagasaki, La Parka, and Pampero Firpo. And it's just one of those awkward timing things because it was Bash at the Beach. So as he notes these passings, the camera just passes over a random bikini babe sitting in a chair and smiling.
Yeah.
They just had some gal in a bikini in a chair sitting there.
Well, she was a lifeguard.
I see.
Yes.
Yeah. She just sat there the entire show.
Yes.
Smiling and waving.
I'm surprised, and actually maybe this happened, but like I've so long given up on following all the crazy people on social media, but I wonder if the anti-AEW fans were just outraged that they had a woman in a bikini here, Bash at the Beach. Or was a man in the bikini? I just figured there must be some outrage about this. Did I miss it?
I didn't see any.
Maybe it'll happen tomorrow.
I probably have all those people muted anyway. So the opener is a 4-way tag with the winner getting a title shot next week on the Jericho Cruise.
Title match at sea.
Yes.
Is the way it was described.
Which I did not actually... I knew they were doing matches on the show. I didn't realize Dynamite was going to be on that show.
Well, they're going to tape Dynamite because they don't want to deal with it not working.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe it's going to be taped like on Tuesday.
Wise.
And then they will air it on Wednesday.
That's actually very smart.
Dude, this is the greatest. I have said for years, and this is not Brian's being paid by AEW. Just go back through the archives. I loved Club La Vela. I loved, like, it was this. The pay-per-view sucked, but like the idea of Road Wild.
Yes.
I love field trips. I love when wrestling gets out of where we always have to see wrestling, and you see it like a ring in a pool, or they're going to be doing matches on a boat, or an arena in the Bahamas, whatever they're doing. Awesome. I love that. I love Bash at the Beach. And this was way better than the last Bash at the Beach.
I'm sure that's true.
I'll tell you that much.
I'm sure that's true. So it's the Best Friends versus Proud and Powerful versus the Young Bucks versus Alan Page, Hangman Page, and Kenny Omega. Which means it's Elite versus Elite. I do like the beach outfit Justin Roberts had, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
He looked ready for the beach. And we'll get to it
He
later.
was ready for the beach.
Cody's Miami Vice
I'll be
outfit.
at Tommy Bahamas tomorrow getting ready.
Cody's Miami Vice outfit needs to be his permanent look now. That was much
Should
better
be.
too, yeah. So they're doing this 4-way, and Omega and the Bucks, even though they are opponents in this match, they can't help but do a bunch of double and triple teams together. And in the corner, there's Hangman Page doing the best subtle disapproval of his partner working with their opponents.
But at the same time, they had no dissension in this match.
There's never dissension.
No.
It was subtle.
Yes.
It was good subtlety in pro wrestling, which is like once in a blue moon, they can pull it off like this.
Well, they also had the whole deal where they're doing spots together, but they're on opposite teams.
Yes.
So they would do a spot, and then one guy would want to cover, but he couldn't. And he was mad.
Yes, because
the other guys were legal.
Yes.
Yeah, this was good. A lot
Breaking-
of thinking went into this match.
Well, speaking of thinking, Jim Ross is so good, but he's so good at taking the Young Bucks style of matches and still calling it as a sport. Because what they do is certainly not strong style. It's Young Bucks style. But as he points out, they are so smooth at moving from, as he put it, one set to another. They've always got their next play called. They don't waste time, he says. He's exactly right. So none of the announcers picked up on this. There's a lot. This match went like 20 plus minutes, so there's a lot to say about it. Proud and Powerful are running hog wild. Ortiz steals Chris Jericho's arrogant cover, or I guess you should say it's a tribute to Chris Jericho's arrogant cover because Jericho's his boss after all. None of the announcers picked up on that. So late in the match, Matt of the Young Buck Matt is in trouble, but Young Buck Nick has been wiped off the apron, so he has to tag someone else. And he goes to the other Elite corner, and Omega's hand is out, and Page's hand is out, and Matt looks right, and he looks left, and he tags in Kenny Omega. And it's subtle, but you can tell Page is gotten to. And he was not the one to tag in. Now, he did 10 seconds later hit the ring with Omega for a bunch of double teams. So it wasn't like the end of the world. But all these little things are nagging at him. It's starting to pile up. Big giant train wreck spot. Superplex onto the pile of bodies outside. Orange Cassidy hits the ring to help his team hit a 5-on-4 suplex. And the Best Friends get a near fall on Kenny. It gets broken up. Matt's in there again running wild with super kicks. But when he turns and there's Page, he hesitates. Because even though they're opponents, they're still friends. Match continues. Page blind tags himself in to tag Matt out. And then he and Omega pin Chuck with a buckshot V-trigger combo. Probably longer than it needed to be. Like I say, it went 20 plus minutes. But the story continues. Page and Omega are still overcoming their differences. The Young Bucks were salty at this because Page had tagged himself in. But hey, it was every team for itself in there. He did what it take to win. They won. And the Bucks put aside their hurt feelings. They all celebrated together. This was a win.
So basically, the one thing that I didn't like about this match, which was even more irritating because, the very beginning, there's a spot, and somebody tagged out. And I was like, why would you ever tag out? You can't become number one contender unless you're in. He didn't tag his partner. He just tagged somebody else.
Sure.
So, his whole team has no chance of winning at this point. It's like, why would you ever tag out in this match? So, the reason it was so irritating was I thought that, but then later they did such a good job not doing that it made the first time they did it even more irritating to me. But yeah, the story where, Matt needs to make the tag, and the reason he has to tag someone else is because Nick gets yanked off the apron.
Yes.
So everything made sense later on in the match. Mm-hmm. But at the very beginning, there was somebody that they just tagged somebody else.
Well,
flabbergasted.
Early on, Brian, you want the other teams in there to beat each other up.
But you never know. The finish could happen anytime.
It's a risky strategy, Brian. I see.
Yes.
It's a risky strategy, but I understand it.
And yes, the whole story at the end was the Bucks did move, and then Hangman, he basically stole the pin, like in a three-way.
They did the dirty work, and he got the glory.
Yeah. I like this match. I didn't think it went too long. I actually thought this match was fantastic.
Yeah.
Like when Filthy said, what are the two matches we're going to review this week? I mean, it was the two openers. Those are the two matches. And sucks for the Shelly Kushida match, but it's only two. So these were the two this week.
Tonight on AEW Dynamite, Sammy Guevara versus Jon Moxley, where the winner gets a match next week for a shot to be the top contender to Chris Jericho's title. They never explained why Sammy Guevara is fighting to face Chris Jericho. They should have talked about it at some point. It never came up. We also have Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida versus Brandy Rhodes and Mel. And then Pac versus Darby, where the winner faces the Guevara-Moxley winner next week. And now Cody responds to MJF.
I will say that I don't think this is a reaction to AEW, but AEW always opens the show by telling you all of the matches and segments that are coming. WWE never did that. But over the last month or so, they've been opening up the show and telling you what matches are coming and what segments you can look forward to. Awesome.
Hey, yeah. And if it is a response to AEW, then great.
Yes, they will never admit it.
Yeah.
But if it is, they've done the right thing.
So Cody is here to discuss MJF's stipulations, which he actually has in graphical form. They're up on the screen, the stips MJF wants. First of these, of course, is the cage match against Wardlow. And Cody tries to sow dissension, knowing he's been in many teams and factions where there was jealousy and envy, and he suggests Wardlow's going to be so great, instead of him carrying your bags, you'll be carrying his. And the fans all chant, "Bag Boy," at MJF. And then Cody begins to mention the 10 lashes. As he's talking about this, they cut to a wide shot so you see the screen with the stipulations on the screen. But then in front of them, you see the lifeguard. And the one thing she actually did on the show, when they was talking about the 10 lashes on live television, she frowns and shakes her head.
It's ridiculous.
Not approve.
She is not into this whipping.
It's absurd. So Cody goes in a rant on MJF's parents and old school critics who like him because he does less is more, but in fact he's just lazy. I was gotten to when he said that. So he accepts the cage match. He accepts the fact that he can't touch MJF until Revolution. And as for the 10 lashes in the ring, and he teases and he hesitates, and the majority of fans did not want him to accept the stupid 10 lashes stip. But at the end of the day, he did, and he vowed MJF would get his own scar at Revolution.
It's a very good promo. The Wardlow match is a month from now.
They got a lot of time.
They got a lot of time here. I wonder when the country whipping's going to be.
Yeah,
and what they're going to do.
Yeah, we'll see. Because we talked about your idea, but it's a good one, where Cody, I guess, it does work. It would still work. Cody teases accepting the whipping, then takes the whip and attacks MJF.
Yes.
Because if he attacks him with the strap, then he doesn't touch him. And the other stipulation is he can't touch MJF.
Well, the stipulation, this is not like an AEW stipulation. This is an MJF stipulation. Mm-hmm. So Cody is welcome to break the stipulation. He can strap the living shit out of this guy if he wants to. And MJF, if he's mad enough, he could say the match is on anyway. He can do whatever he wants. This is no matter what they do here, they're not killing a stipulation because it's not a company stipulation. It's a heel being an asshole. And you don't want nobody, that's the thing. People are chanting no. They want to see Cody versus MJF. But these people actually love Cody so much that they don't want to see him strapped. They will accept not having the match just so this poor guy can't get his ass strapped 10 times. That's pretty amazing. So we'll see what happens.
I enjoyed Janela backstage promo. Says his year began as he was punched in the nuts by his ex-girlfriend, Penelope Ford. Said he wanted nothing to do with Penelope, but she knows the only way she can get over is on his name. Says she's out there with her new man, Kip Sabian, dared Sabian across this line. He admits that last year his record was not what he wanted, but next week he's got Rey Fenix and he's got something to prove. This was a good promo.
Yeah.
Brandy Rhodes and Mel versus Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida, I wrote. That's too many Chris Statlanders. This was a shitty match with no heat. It fucking sucked. Statlander, I think it was, did some horrible moonsault dive where she missed and then both women fell down. And then Mel's in there with Shida. And the spot is, I'll whip you in, I'll put my head down for a backdrop, and you kick me in the face. But their timing was so horrible that Shida's running the ropes and hooks the ropes to stop running. And then Mel bends over, and then Shida kicks her in the face. At this point, I'm gobsmacked at how terrible you have to be that they won't let Brandy Rhodes in the ring. Or how terrible Brandy Rhodes must be if you're putting you in the ring instead of her. And then Brandy tags in, and Brandy was not as shitty as Mel. So it sucks and sucks and sucks. It goes through a break. They're doing some stuff at the end.
Or JR goes, watch the inset commercial during the break. The finish might come at any time. They go to commercial, there's no inset for the entire time.
Hey, that's an improvement.
Like this poor guy.
This match is better off not being seen. Shida misses a dropkick. And when I say misses a dropkick, I don't mean like the person in the ring ducked or dodged or blocked it. She just missed. But Mel took a big giant bump anyway. Just total amateur hour out there. Everyone keeps kicking out of things that did not need to be kicked out of. This should have been like a 1-minute match. It went 15. And finally, Statlander pinned Mel with the cradle tombstone, which is going to kill somebody someday. A wretched match.
Yeah, this was very not good, and it was very much too long. And I won't waste time again talking about the benefits of going long when you don't do house shows. But, dude.
This is nobody any favors.
I don't know what the answer is. Like, these people need to get better, and you're not going to get better going 2 minutes. But, like, this match should have gone 1 minute. So I don't know what the answer is. But yes, this was very bad. And Dr. Luther's out there. He's done 0. Like, he got whacked with a stick during the entrance.
Yeah.
Why is this guy not even cut a promo yet? Isn't that why he's there? I
have no idea.
Well, maybe he'll do it next week. Maybe he'll do a promo at sea.
He might, actually. He behind him in his own boat. He had a Dark Order video. They have thousands of new recruits applying to join the Dark Order.
I finally figured out who the Exalted one is.
Who's that?
Nails.
Your brother-in-law or the convict?
No, the one with the gimmick voice.
Yes.
They both have that same wacky voice.
So they have thousands of recruits wanting to join the Dark Order, but there are some they are targeting that they admit are taking longer than expected. And they go through the list. There's Michael Nakazawa. They say he has an ambition to start winning. They think he's vulnerable right now. Kenny Omega is in their sights. It will be a longer process, they say, but we may be able to reach him through Nakazawa. Brandon Cutler is on a losing streak. He is loyal to the Elite. We will have to show him that the Elite can't offer what the Dark Order can. And then they get to Hangman Page. And they say, Hangman Page, he has grown apart from the Elite. The time may be right to pursue him.
Hey, at least there's logic to everything.
Yeah.
You may not like it, but they got a plan. They told you what the plan is. They told you why. Now, why this is airing on television, that's a question I can't answer. This should be secret information from the Dark Order.
This implies Kenny Omega is not watching Dynamite.
Yes, or maybe they know.
Anyway, Sammy Guevara versus Jon Moxley. Guevara is doing his cue card gimmick for the camera again during the inset, and they cut him off halfway through. That pissed me off. Moxley shows up in the car that he took last week that he was not supposed to get because he did not join the Inner Circle. The prior match had killed this crowd good. There was not a lot of heat for this either. There had been a lot of heat in the opener. There was not a lot of heat for this one. They're doing this. This match also went a while. It was much better than the prior match, but longer than it needed to be, and there's not a lot of heat. And this is when it occurred to me. I know you talked about how everyone on AEW is a star, just different levels of star. There is too much of that. This show needs a squash match here and there. It goes too long, and then Guevara hits a bunch of moves Moxley barely kicks out, and then in the end hooks a sleeper out of nowhere and wins.
I thought this match was better than you're giving it credit for being. Moxley has his car, loved it. I wonder if he can get the car on the boat.
That would be a challenge.
Yeah. So I thought they had a pretty good match. They probably gave Sammy too much, given that Jon Moxley is going to be the number one contender, I'm pretty sure.
The finish of this, it was Guevara hitting tons of moves with Moxley on the ropes, barely surviving and getting one lucky hold. You get the feeling,
he stole Filthy's finish.
You get the feeling watching this that if they had a rematch, Guevara would beat him.
But I didn't get that feeling.
This is not how I would have booked this match. So after Moxley wins, Jericho's music starts. The lights go out. When they come back, all of the inner circle are in the ring. Moxley, of course, is no coward. He charges. He's destroyed. Jericho actually whipped him with the title belt, which is funny considering they're building a whipping stipulation for Cody.
Not only that, it's an expensive belt.
It's a very expensive belt.
And heavy.
And very, very heavy. And then perhaps Jericho or someone with All Elite Wrestling has been listening to the retro NWA shows, and they stole the Dusty Rhodes Road Warriors spike in the eye spot. Jericho unscrewed a spike from his jacket. He jabbed it into Jon Moxley's eye. The refs run in to break it up. Of all people, Aubrey got the loudest chance of anyone in this segment.
Yeah.
And am I crazy, or were there actually a chance of Moxley sucks here?
I don't think there were Moxley sucks.
I hope I'm wrong. But
there were definitely Aubrey chants, and here's the thing with this angle. Last night, Dave was talking about how it's 2020, and nobody believes that Jericho really poked him in the eye. He's right, but guess what? I don't think anyone really believes that Jericho had a $750,000 car that now Moxley has.
I don't believe...
That's all of pro wrestling.
I don't believe Jericho actually believed Moxley was going to join and then found out he was kidding.
Here's the thing with this spike angle, okay? The good news is we just watched the one with Dusty. And execution-wise, this one was better.
Yes.
Because, man, the one with Dusty Rhodes, it was like... It happened, and it was to the back. It was lame.
No one cared, yeah.
This one was executed well. But it is true that it is 2020, and the other one was 1988, and the fact of the matter is this will have nowhere near the impact, because that's impossible in 2020. Now, all we can hope for is that the guy got poked in the eye, and this needs to play into the storyline. It needs to play into Pac's match next week. It needs to play into the Jericho match. I mean, we don't know where he got stabbed, but I mean, if he was stabbed with a spike anywhere close to his eye, I mean, this should not be something that is healed up. This should not be a Keith Lee incident.
No, that's a fine example of what not to do.
Yes.
And for 1 week at least, they did a whole hell of a lot better.
Yes. And it is very clear that the fans very much weren't buying it because they did chant for Aubrey. I mean, I know she's popular, but this fucking guy got poked in the eye with a spike. Yeah. That should be a bigger deal than the girl ref came out to help break things up. So we'll see where it goes.
Jericho does a backstage promo, says what happened tonight was Jon Moxley's fault. They offered him the keys to the kingdom, and instead of accepting, he smashed a bottle over Jericho's head. He is a rebel, so we had to take him out an eye for an eye. He said he has done Pac and Darby Allin a favor by taking out Moxley, because now the winner of that match will be by default the number one contender, because Moxley won't be there to fight them. He said, we took out Moxley tonight. Next week on the cruise, we'll do the same thing to the Jurassic Express. He runs down Jungle Boy for a while, and they all leave. And then Jake Hager, who never speaks, looks in the camera, and he covers one eye, and he says, "Arr!"
That's what he did.
He walks on.
Yes.
And then Sammy Guevara, whose gimmick is that he's pathetically, desperately horny, turns to Jen Decker and tells her to hit him up.
I hope that actually be too wacky. If it were WWE, Moxley would show up dressed as a pirate on the boat.
No.
I think that'd be too much for this one here.
The best friends can be pirates.
And also, I could be wrong here. If I'm wrong, I apologize, but I can't believe that Jericho didn't use the term swab the deck with Jungle Boy's hair. I think he said something like he was going to wipe the deck with him or something like that, but come on, swab the deck!
He mentioned his rat's nest of hair.
Yes. Mighty.
Oh, matey, yeah. Butcher and Blade and MJF versus Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall and Diamond Dallas Page.
Dude. Diamond Dallas Page last week did one diamond cutter, and he let the guy let him down easy, basically. Mm-hmm. And I thought that DDP was going to come out here and be the sixth guy in this match and maybe do like one spot and hit one diamond cutter. This dude comes out, no shirt on.
Looks great.
He's got his ribs taped still. It's a very brutal injury he suffered back in 1998. Same tights, I think, that he wore as an active wrestler.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, is anything like me, same boots.
Yeah.
I doubt he got new ones. And yes, the guy's well over 60. I don't know what his real age is. Maybe he really is 63. Maybe 65. Maybe 67. I don't know. But he looked like an older version of himself.
Yeah.
He looked like Diamond Dallas Page, who'd done an excessive amount of tanning, but otherwise exactly the same. He is not quite as fast as he used to be, and he didn't, like, there's no way I think he should be working a schedule.
No.
But, like, for one night, getting in there, making a comeback, doing some spots, doing a dive off the post, which he never even did in the 90s.
No, he didn't do it when he was in his 40s.
And granted, there were 8 guys out there or whatever to catch him, and a couple of diamond cutters. Like this guy, last week he went out there and in a comedy segment practically, he plugged everything. He plugged his DDP, yoga, the website, how to spell everything, his Instagram, his Twitter. Plug. The greatest plug for DDP yoga is this match.
Yes.
He should go to his DDP Yoga website, put this match on the front page, and just sell a shit ton of yoga courses or whatever.
To say, right, I'm 63, and link to the match.
Yes. Crazy.
Yes. Dustin is not 63, but he's closer to 63 than 23. He also looked great.
Yeah, but even Dustin was like, this was a match where DDP was the most impressive guy. Dustin was just like, yeah, he's good. But now there's another guy who's 12 years older than him.
Yes.
Who's out there busting ass.
It's kind of
and
amazing.
You're like, this Dustin, yeah, it's pretty good. Not too bad.
MJF's out there and he banged Dallas's daughter shirt.
Yeah.
That was great. Great heat segment on Dustin after they hit him with a gimmick.
One of DDP's daughters is doing stuff for Dark now.
Oh, is she now?
Oh, man. This is not going to end well. I don't know what they're going to do, but something's got to be done.
So, diamond cutter for the Butcher, a destroyer and a cutter for MJF. Dallas Page does a dive onto the pile, which, as you noted, he never did, I don't think, ever on Nitro or Thunder one time, but he's now done one on Dynamite. But as soon as this happens, QT Marshall's in the ring, and MJF zips it out of nowhere, pins him with a schoolboy hook in the tights. A fun match. In fact, it was so out of nowhere, they were showing a replay of Dallas Page's dive, and the pin actually happened in the picture-in-picture promo, or picture-in-picture shot. That was a very fun match. Jen Decker is interviewing SCU about facing Omega and Page next week. When out comes Page, and he's been drinking.
Page is either like a heavy drinker, or he knows a lot of heavy drinkers, because he plays a great heavy drinker.
Yeah.
He's stumbling around, he spills a drink, he does the old, I'm sorry, dude, I'm sorry, tries to wipe it off. What every annoying drunk does.
Yeah.
This was Hangman. And he's an angry drunk.
There was a second or third Observer convention in Las Vegas ever, and I bet I should probably not name this person, but there was a person who was there who was the best drunk I ever saw. Because I saw this person like late at night, and then late morning the next day we all got together for breakfast, and then we had dinner the next night, and every time I saw him, every day on this trip, he was drunk. But he was never sloppy drunk. He was never like vomiting drunk or dizzy drunk. He was just drunk. He never sobered up. He never got embarrassing drunk. He just managed to keep that perfect buzz level for days at a time. It was a masterpiece of drinking. So, where are we here? Oh yeah, drunk Page walks up, spills his drink on Daniels. Daniels is pissed off. Omega shows up, pulls Page away, tries to make peace, talks about how they're all great single stars who formed a team. He's trying to do the same thing with Page. He wants to have a gentleman's contest next week. And SCU accepts this, and they're all shaking hands. And then drunk Page rambles in again. I'm going to kick all your asses, he says. That's great. Cody versus Wardlow, if it was not announced earlier, will be in Atlanta, which, as you noted, is still like a month away.
Yep.
Pac and Darby Allin. A great match. They beat the hell out of each other. They did all kinds of insane shit. Pac did a power bomb where he starts standing on the stairs, but then as he delivers the move, he jumps off and drops Darby onto the stairs, which I've never seen before. That looked brutal.
This Darby takes a good beating.
He does. There was what they called, and I have no better term for it, a crucifix bomb out of the corner, where basically what happened was Pac had Darby on his back and did a moonsault off the middle rope and landed on his belly. It was nuts. They started doing all these cradles. And they're all
if
great.
I'd gotten to more Defy shows, I'd have begged for a match with Darby.
Probably would have been fun.
Man.
Yeah, he's great. He is great. They're doing a bunch of cool cradles. Place is going crazy. And then they announce 5 minutes of TV time remaining. And of course, the one draw in AEW had Pac in it. And as soon as Pac hears that 5-minute warning, he grabs Darby Allin, and it's the best Liger bomb you ever saw. He throws him high into the air, and then drops him down right on the back of his neck, jumping over, hooking the arms with his legs.
Schiavone completely lost his mind at this Liger bomb.
It was insane.
He thought this guy had broken his neck. He was certain of it.
It looked like he did. And they're fighting the top rope, and Pac is punching him, and Darby gets pissed off and does the pissed off babyface no-sell and screams in his face, and Pac is scared, but he rears back and hits one big headbutt, and Darby goes down, and Pac follows the black arrow to the back for the win. Excellent main event. So, Tony goes to interview Pac, and Pac immediately dubs himself the top contender to the title. He talks about all he's going to do against Jericho, when Tony pulls the mic back and says, wait, you still have to wrestle Jon Moxley. And Pac says, you saw what I saw. Jon Moxley is physically incapacitated, and that means it's a forfeit. I'm coming for you, Chris. And he starts to say more, but Tony pulls the mic away again, taps his headset, and says, I'm sorry, we're getting news in the back. We got to the back where there's an ambulance. They're trying to get Jon Moxley to leave. He storms out, got a big eye patch over his eye where the spike was. It's wrapped around his head with black tape to make it very easy to see. And he comes storming out. He goes into the ring. He vows one eye, or to the stage, I should say. One eye or no eyes, he says. He'll be there next week, and he's going to kick Pac's ass, because that title shot belongs to me.
This show was great.
That was a great build for the show. Yes.
Aside from the Dark Order, or not the Dark Order,
the Nightmare Collective.
Nightmare Collective segment was pretty...
AEW Dynamite, also January 29th of the year 2020. So we get a little video package that's a recap of what happened last week, as well as a preview of what's going to be on this week. The highlight of this is Butcher and Blade are on the screen, and the bunny is in the foreground. And she looks right into the camera and promises that tonight, the Young Bucks will experience full death.
Wow.
Jesus.
That's
Frankly,
serious.
Partial death would be enough for me. Just a little itty bit of death, I don't want that.
So I never watched last week's show on television, so I just saw the clips here from the show on the boat.
Yes.
That looked really cool. It's 1,000 times better actually on the boat.
I'm sure that's true.
Dude, I wish they would have got the shot. I guess they edited out all the fans chanting, fuck your boat or whatever.
They
attempted to.
Worse than editing it out, they bleeped it.
Yes.
So they're like a series of 10 bleeps in a row.
Yes.
It was incredibly... And that was not the only time.
It was so cool to see that other boat pulling into the harbor, though, in the middle of the main event.
Sure.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Shut up, fans. We could have enjoyed that moment, but you had to screw it up and get it edited off the show. I couldn't even believe it.
Watching the whole show live last week is like... Your first reaction is, of course, it's different, it's cool, and it's different, or it's cool because it's different. Then a little bit, you kind of realize why wrestling matches are not held on boats regularly. It wasn't like... It didn't look bad, but the lighting was not ideal. There's some very harsh shadows from certain angles.
Dude, you're on a boat.
That's because you're on a boat. That's why you don't do a boat every week, is my point. And then by the end, I was like, this is like a really good episode of Shotgun Saturday Night. That's what it feels like. It's a wrestling match, not in a sporting venue, which is, it's a boat. Jon Moxley comes out for a promo.
This segment was weird.
It was very, very good for a while, and then it's like they just didn't have any idea how to end it.
Yes, that's actually what it felt like.
Yeah.
Because Moxley was a great promo. Jericho was a great promo.
Yeah.
And then the payoff was bizarre.
It was. So they're in Ohio, which is Moxley's home state. That's one of the reasons he's loved. He actually seemed moved by this reaction, to be perfectly frank. But he's listing all of Jericho's dastardly deeds, including stealing Rey Mysterio's mask and punching a woman. They're going deep into the WWE well.
I tell you something about Jon Moxley from seeing him on the boat in captivity. What you see is what you get with Jon Moxley. That's it.
I don't doubt that at all.
That is Jon Moxley 24/7. He was flabbergasted that he was on a boat. I think he kind of liked it by the end, but like the first day, it's just like, I'm on a fucking boat.
He's from Ohio. There's no
I'm going
boats
to
in
be
Ohio.
here for 5 days.
That's the bigger part.
He'd never been on a cruise before.
Yeah.
I think he begrudgingly liked it by the end. But yes.
He says Jericho is a coward and a bully. He hates bullies. He vows to take the title back from Jericho, or to get the title from Jericho. There's nothing he can do about it. He doesn't have the patience to watch his back for weeks, so he calls out Jericho to fight right now. It was a great promo by Moxley. Then Jericho comes out, and he cuts a great promo. Makes fun of Moxley's eye patch. You should sing a song like a pirate, he says. Yo ho ho and a bottle of dumb.
He laughs.
He pauses. There's a pause, and then he adds, 'cause you're stupid. That was so great. That was so great. Talks about seeing Moxley's mother backstage, telling her it was everything that happened to John was his fault. He's the one who said no to the Inner Circle. He brings out the Inner Circle. Moxley says, it would be stupid for me to fight all 5 of you by myself, but I'm not alone. And I figure he's going to say, I don't have a lot of friends, but you have a lot of enemies. And then he brings out the Bucks or SU or whoever.
No, this man stands alone, Vinny.
So what he says,
kidding me?
What he says is, I'm not alone. I have all of Ohio here with me. And I think they were in Cleveland. Yeah, it was definitely Cleveland. But huge crowd. There had to be 10,000 people there, it looked like.
I knew they weren't going to do this, but I knew that Moxley was not going to have any friends because he's a loner.
He is Moxley.
And when he said, I've got this whole building here with me, they're watching my back, I was just thinking, if he just told the fans to go after the Inner Circle, they'd all storm.
There was a decent chance he could have started her right. Get them!
I was thinking, there's no way they can do this, right? But if they're not going to do that, like, how do they get out of this? There's no way he's just going to challenge him to a fight and get his ass kicked.
Well,
that would be dumb.
What they did was, he says, it's me and all of them against you. So Jericho says, okay, I'll fight 10,000 people because I have 5 more. Out come 5 random dudes.
Yeah.
We're told.
Extra street thugs, courtesy Ortiz.
Proud and powerful, brought their friends from the South Bronx. So now it's 10 people against 10,000. So Moxley charges.
Jericho says it's now 10 of us and 1 of you and your little idiot friends from Ohio. The whole building.
The fight starts. It's immediately separated. And the segment just ends.
Dude, they start brawling and all these security guys come out and Moxley takes the opportunity to escape through the crowd and the announcers say, Jericho has been humiliated. I'm like, what? Did I miss like something major here that just like went totally over my head?
If you did, I missed it too.
Was it like, well, the security was right there because they're all from Ohio and Moxley's from Ohio, so they're the ones that had his back, or maybe he let security know to just be on call. I don't know. It was like they came up with 98% great and they couldn't figure out the last 2%.
Yeah.
So security just broke it up. Mm-hmm. But anyway, the promos were unbelievable.
Promos were great. Tonight on this show, Chris Jericho teams with Proud and Powerful to take on Darby Allin and Private Party. Nyla Rose faces Big Swole. Kip Sabian faces Cody. And the Young Bucks versus the Butcher and the Blade. This is set up by a video.
He is a butcher.
MJF and Wardlow go to a meat locker where they find Butcher and Blade in their smocks cutting meat.
Now, the big question is, where's this butcher shop at?
You're
Chicago?
intrigued by this meet?
Well, no, partly that, but it's more... MJF wanted to know where he could find the Butcher and the Blade, and he had to ask somebody, and the answer was, the Butcher Shop.
Yes.
It's the fucking Butcher. But where?
That's a fair question.
Is it like WWE where the Butcher Shop just travels city to city?
Like the Undertaker's graveyard?
Yeah,
It's
you've
always
got
across
like
the
a
street?
portable butcher truck. They
This
don't have a bus like Randy Orton. They got a butcher truck.
I will say this. This was very clearly a tape. This could have been taking place any place in any city over the last 7 days.
Yeah, so I want to know where it's at.
That's why it didn't bother me. Like the Undertaker's
And maybe he does have a
graveyard.
good butcher shop, and I'd like to go get some meat there.
So MGF hands the bunny an envelope and leaves. The envelope says Young Bucks on it. And then the camera pans up, and now Butcher and Blade are out of their smocks and their ass-kicking gear. And that's it.
Yes.
So yes, this is fun. It was wacky. Maybe for some people it'd be a little too hokey, but you know what? It was a little 30-second video to introduce a match.
Hokey? This was great.
Okay.
They have a storyline here where the Young Bucks threw MJF into a swimming pool.
Yes. I'm sure you were in love with that.
Oh, you don't even know. He claims, I can't swim. They tried to kill me. Therefore, they must be butchered.
Yes.
Okay. Now, what you missed because you weren't on the boat was MJF is in the pool, and he's reaching for fans to help him out of the pool. But, of course, he falls back in. And then he finally manages to get onto the pool deck, and some fan shouts something, and he screams, "You piece of..." And then he slips and falls into the pool again. It's fucking the best.
He's a genius, you realize.
He's the greatest.
He is a genius. And on that note, the match is Butcher and Blade versus the Young Bucks, along with the best commentator in pro wrestling, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Now, I'm sure you've all figured out I'm a big MJF fan by now. He wasn't just great as a character to get himself over. He wasn't just great as an entertaining guy throwing out one-liners and jokes and insults. He was great calling this match. He made the match better. He's the best at everything. So yes, he did claim the Young Bucks nearly took his life because he does not know how to swim. Says the Bucks are phony and fake. They claim to be Catholics. The only Bible verse they know is Austin 3:16.
Like the pool on the boat is 12 feet deep.
Yes, exactly.
Dude.
See, that's,
It's not even funnier. It's like drowning in a 3-foot pool.
I noted his thrashing. I'm sure you were proud.
Yes.
Yes. He knows the Young Bucks are untrained backyarders, whereas the Blade was trained by Les Thatcher. The Butcher is trained by Josh Barnett. He's putting over their backgrounds. He did more in 2 minutes of commentary to get
Wait
the
a
Butcher
second.
and Blade.
The Butcher was trained by Josh Barnett?
That's what he said.
Wow. I didn't know that.
I don't think MJF would lie to me. He did more to get them over in 2 minutes of commentary than they have done as a promotion in however many months they've been around.
We needed him the day they debuted when Jim Ross wanted to know who the hell they were.
Yes, exactly.
And Excalibur had no answer.
This would have been better. Well, you see, Jim, they're trained by Les Thatcher and Josh Barnett. And Jim would have said, oh, wow, they must be dangerous then. So he continues to be great on commentary the entire match. Heat on Nick. Matt Jackson gets his comeback. And first of all, I've kind of glossed over this match itself. The Young Bucks have a lot of critics who say all they do is flips and super kicks and spots.
Dude, this was a traditional
This was
pro
such
wrestling
a
match.
great pro wrestling Memphis-style tag team match.
Vinny,
it was so awesome.
People say a lot of uneducated shit on the internet.
They do, I've heard. But yes, this was a great old school tag team match. And Matt gets his hot tag, and he makes a great comeback. There's nothing but punches and chops. He's just destroying these guys with violence. It's awesome. And eventually they go back and forth. The Bucks cut off the Blade. They hook him for the Meltzer driver. MJF is screaming, "Get out of there! Get out of there!" And they hit the move and make a cover. He's screaming, "Kick! Kick!" But they do not kick, and the Young Bucks win, and MJF is despondent. He slumps in his chair. These bastards humiliated him, and now they've gotten the win over his men. And he says something about how there's their careers are receding just like Nick's hairline.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas.
Oh, yeah. So, Butcher and Blade attack. Omega runs down and makes the save. And then Hangman Page saunters out to make the save.
I wrote that exact word. He sauntered.
There is no other way. This is a cowboy saunter. Maybe a mosey, because he's a cowboy.
Nah, he sauntered.
He hands his beer to Matt, saying, "Hold this."
Matt.
Whichever.
Right.
Yeah. A buck. It's really irrelevant. Does his flipping clothesline to lay out the other dude, takes his beer back, and saunters back out as the Bucks and Omega celebrate. And they're a little confused by this, but hey, he helped them out. Good for him. They're all happy. This segment was glorious. Just glorious.
So here's a big test for AEW here, because I think the idea was that Hangman was going to turn heel. But this guy is like Steve Austin all of a sudden. These fans love this beer-drinking Hangman who does nothing but cowboy shit.
Cowboy shit.
He's so over right now. And you know, if this were WWE, it would be all about these fucking fans.
Yes.
We're going to turn this guy and they're going to like it. Yeah, they would just turn him heel and he would get cheered. They would yell at the fans. It would just be a complete disaster. I don't know what the plans were, and I don't know what the plans are going to be now, but there's no way. Listen, I'll put it this way. If they can get this guy over as a heel, that's a miracle.
Remember like a month ago when we were like, he has good matches, but no one cares about him?
When this show started, that's all I said for months. It's, what's up with the Hangman? They've got to do something with the Hangman. Well, they sure as shit did.
They did. Nyla Rose versus Big Swole. Went about 10 minutes. Wasn't very good. A lot of crappy brawling. Swole's
wasn't
comeback.
Very good, but I thought Swole looked fine in this match.
Swole's comeback was really cool.
I thought she looked way better than Nyla did, and Nyla's the #1 contender.
Yeah. And, well, I will, I don't know if disagree is the right word. Her comeback with all her spots looked really cool. Her brawling looked really, really bad. Anyway, eventually Nyla won with a powerbomb. Kip Sabian versus Cody.
Oh, what a masterpiece. I loved this match. It was so wacky, and they had so many wacky ideas involving so many wacky people, but every bit of it made sense.
Yes. Everything was set up logically and was consistent with the internal logic of this show and these characters.
Yes.
So Arn Anderson is Cody's coach. He has a laminated play sheet like a football coach, which led to great comedy among me and my football colleagues who also watch wrestling. The announcers were comparing Arn to Mike Ditka. He actually looks a lot more like Andy Reid, who is actually coaching the Super Bowl in a couple days. So the whole point of this match is that the heels keep cheating and the ref keeps missing it.
And yelling at Arn.
And Arn, well, because Arn's mad at the ref and yelling at the ref first. So the whole point of this match is to build heat between Arn and the ref. So they keep getting more and more intense with their arguing. Finally, Arn hits the ring. They're going face to face. Arn gives him the big belly bump. You can't do that. It's barely violence, but you can't put your hands on an official. And so the ref is outraged and shows his outrage and does the big dramatic spinny finger ejection and kicks Arn out. Now Arn's more pissed off. Cody's just trying to calm him down just to avoid a disqualification. Eventually he gets Arn to leave. And then Cody is immediately cut off. They're fighting outside. They're doing big dives. Penelope does a big dive, diving Ron off the steps. Sabian does a big tope. And then the wackiest thing I saw all week. This would only work in pro wrestling. It would only work in good pro wrestling. There's a lot of bad pro wrestling companies that would have tried to pull this off and screwed it up. Sabian goes to give his girlfriend Penelope a big smooch. And Penelope's going to smooch him right back. And they're at the point where like the corner of the guardrail. So they're kind of kissing over the corner, kind of leaning into the fans a little bit. And they close their eyes and they pucker up and they start to lean forward. And then from out of nowhere, up pops Joey Janela, Penelope's ex, and the guy who's feuding with Sabian. He jumps up. He's got his big wacky ski goggle sunglasses on. I think he almost forgot to pull them off. But he pulls them off and does a big-ass goofy grin for the camera. And they lean in. They both kiss him on the cheek. Kip Sabian confuses Joey Janela's beard for Penelope Ford's lips. He's very confused. Then they are outraged. The place is going nuts. Now, they should have gone home right after that. That was the high point. They went like 4 more minutes of doing nothing. And then Cody just starts crossroading him to death. He hit one crossroads. It gets a big reaction. He grabs it again. When he hit the first one, they were close to the ropes. So I thought Cody thought, well, he's near the ropes. I'll grab him up, hit another move, and then pin him. Hits a second one. It gets a bigger reaction. So now Cody's like, well, fuck, I'll do another one. He does a third one. It gets the biggest reaction yet. Usually, the more you do something, the less the reaction is. Somehow this grew with each one, and then Cody pinned him.
The other great thing about this match is not even everything that you said, but like every moment of weirdness and wackiness resulted in a change in the match. So when Arn Anderson gets ejected, he's all furious, and Cody's trying to calm him down. And in trying to calm him down, Penelope takes the opportunity to come off the apron with a diving Hurricane Rana. Then when they did the spot where they go for the kiss and they both kiss Joey Janela, and he falls backwards in the crowd, flipping him off, I howled. They're distracted, and then Cody hits a big dive and wipes out Sabian. So every wacky thing that happened led to the tide changing in the match. I love this. Yes. This was not like a classic professional wrestling bout.
It kind of was.
But you know what it was? It was a word everyone hates, a term. It was sports entertainment.
Yes.
It was fucking entertaining. It's not this exactly, but I said it on Observer Live today. The reason we all fell in love with wrestling was because it was fun.
Yeah.
And this was fucking fun. I had a smile on my face the whole time. I loved it.
It was very, very fun. And you know what? For all the wackiness, at no point in any of this did the baby faces look stupid.
No!
It was all the heels looking dumb. Tony is on the top of the ramp, the stage. He's going to try to interview Britt Baker.
Did you
again.
watch the show last week?
I did.
Okay.
We'll get to it. There's something I want to ask you about. But
I kept seeing the animated GIF of Tony looking at the camera because people just use it over and over on my timeline. But it's just this little tiny picture. So I couldn't really see what was going on. I just saw Tony looking at the camera in disgust. I didn't realize until I watched the show here that what happened was Britt Baker made fun of him for working at Starbucks, and Tony Schiavone just turns to the camera and goes, "What the fuck?" I died. Listen, I know some people didn't like Britt Baker's promo on the boat last week, but when I was watching it live, I loved it. And when I found out that they just cut the commercial in the middle of it, I was like, why? Then I had people saying that it didn't come across very good on television. I was just flabbergasted. Listen, if anybody doesn't like this one that they aired last night, I'll fight you.
Wow.
Dude, I love this Britt Baker promo. It was so good.
So Britt Baker comes out. First of all, she is from Pittsburgh, so the Cleveland fans tell her that Pittsburgh sucks. She calls him Mr. Starbucks again. Then she addresses Jim Ross.
Well, first she says, "I'm Dr. Britt Baker."
Yes, very important.
She says, "Tony, you didn't offend me. We were a dream team last week. We were the stars of the show. We were trending worldwide." Well, I was trending worldwide. You were holding the mic. He gives another, "What the fuck?" Then she goes after Jim Ross, the easiest heat.
Yes. Says all you do is sit back there and collect your paycheck while me and the other women in this division do all the work, and you can't even get our names right. Well, it's true. She talks about how, again, she is here every week, unlike Riho. Then she gets back to Tony. Says, as a dentist, I can tell you have advanced gingivitis. You need to pick up a toothbrush once in a while. And then turns to the people of Cleveland and says, you finally have a baker you can trust. It was a football joke, Brian.
I figured.
So
I loved it.
It was a little bit all over the place. She kind of went from Tony to Jim to Rio, back to Tony, but it was good. It was good. Then Jim Ross says, we have a new colleague named Lexi, who has...
This is DDP's stepdaughter.
Oh, how about that?
Yes.
Yeah. And he says, this is a quote, she's going to do a very special interview with some stars.
Well, she did.
Yeah. So Lexi's interviewing the Young Bucks and Omega. Now, on the boat, Alan Page, well, Page and Omega won the tag titles, but basically it was Hangman Page doing it all by himself.
Yes.
Did they show on the boat the backstage promo later in the show?
What was it?
It was Page and Omega and eventually the Bucks.
What'd they say?
Okay, so Tony is there to interview Page and
I'm
Omega.
90% sure they didn't show this. Okay. 100% sure.
You need to go back and watch this. This is like the best thing in the entire show. They're the new tag team champions because Page beat up SCU by himself and won the belts. This is his shining moment. This is his career peak. Tony's first question for them is, congratulations on winning the tag team belts. Kenny Omega, when are you going to face Pac? And Page kind of perplexed, looks at Tony. So Omega addresses Pac. He says, whatever. And then Schiavone says, thank you. Now, Hangman Page, talk to me a little bit about your big win. And then before he can answer, in come the Young Bucks to congratulate them.
I heard about
this.
But
also stealing Page's spotlight.
Yes.
This is so beautiful. And then finally, when Page finally gets a chance to speak, he just drops some line about how we won these belts. We managed to do it before you did. And now they're all sore with each other, and he's upset.
You know what's so amazing
it's
about
so
this?
Wonderful.
What's so amazing about this, and what we're going to have to find out what they do is, remember when Cody's best friend was MJF?
Yes.
And it's like, it's so obvious where they're going. MJF is going to turn on Cody.
Yes.
And of course, you had all these morons on the internet going, well, what if Cody turns on MJF?
Really?
Like, dude, are you kidding me?
You're
Like,
internet
this
people
is not WCW in 2000. It's supposed to be WCW in 95.
Yes.
So, of course, exactly what you figured would happen, happened.
Yeah.
So when I watched this, what should happen is Hangman should turn heel.
Yes.
That's where this is going. But the idea of a heel turn jumped the shark this week. He's so over as a babyface, as the beer-drinking cowboy shit. Now what do you do?
Well, I don't know, Brian.
I would not turn this guy.
I see your point. There's no hurry. There's definitely no hurry.
There is no hurry.
You can.
I guess you could always turn Omega.
You could. I hadn't thought of that. But I would just let Page and Omega be the tag champs for several months here to see where it goes. Maybe the original plan was to do the Turner Revolution. I certainly wouldn't do it then. You know, just kick that can down the road for a little bit. So this week's interview, it's Lexi with the Bucks and Omega. And the Bucks say, we're happy we got the win tonight. We can't stop thinking about that beating we took at the hands of the Dork Order.
What a line.
It's funny. Or something about Santana and Ortiz. Our objective is the same, as to climb all the way up to those tag team climb up to the top of the tag team rankings, and maybe even get a title shot. And they look over at their buddy Omega and they say, nothing personal. And then Adam Page storms in. He interrupts their interview time. Hey, look at this, guys. We got nameplates on our belts. And he shows up. It says right here, Hangman. I got some for you guys, too. They make these for everybody. And he hands the Bucks their nameplates. See, there it says, Matt Jackson. Hang on to those. You might need them one day. And he leaves. And the Bucks are kind of annoyed and confused. Omega, always the peacemaker, says, look, guys, next week I got us a big 8-man tag. It'll be all four of us. Hangman Page, me, and the Young Bucks against the Butcher and the Blade and a team of their choosing. And the Bucks say, all right, that sounds like a great match. And we go on from there. I love the storyline. The storyline is awesome. I love it because everything that happens to Page, he's reacting in a perfectly rational, logical way.
Yes, everybody does on this show.
Yes.
I can't say never. I'm sure somebody could come up with one, but you virtually never question like what somebody's doing or why they're doing it. Like everything makes logical sense.
SCU versus Hybrid 2. So we had SCU doing Kobe Bryant tributes and Hybrid 2 doing La Parka tributes. Hybrid 2 are never on TV, and I don't know why. They're very good, but they're not on TV. So there's
too much talent. Only 2-hour show.
Well, there's that. But because they're not on TV, there was no heat for this match. It was very basic. You had a heat, a comeback. It went back and forth. SCU hit their finish and won. Tag
That's
team,
what happened.
The former tag team champions.
The crowd did get into the last few minutes, but it was very dead early.
Yeah. Former tag team champions back on the winning track. Then we have the Dark Order doing a video on the screen. They are still trying to recruit Chris Daniels. They say they're going to target his friends, his family, his brothers in SCU. This is his warning.
I don't think they're trying to recruit him anymore. I mean, it appears that he turned them down, and now there must be revenge from the Exalted One.
I think I wrote that down when he mentioned Daniel's name and did not change it as it went on. But yes, the Exalted One is upset. So
here's the deal. I'm not a big fan of swerves for the sake of swerving. But if you do a swerve that makes sense, that's cool. And the Exalted One was originally going to be Marty Scurll. And he's not coming to AEW,
It's not
so
going to be now.
it ain't going to be Marty Scurll.
No.
So if Matt Hardy leaves WWE, it could be him. But it could also be Chris Daniels.
It could.
This is the fallen angel, Chris Daniels. He's been the fallen angel since we watched him on Nitro in 2001.
A century ago. Not quite a century
It's one of those deals where it would be a swerve, but in fact, it would make sense if Daniels was the Exalted One.
And he was doing all this just to screw with the entire company. That's what a fallen angel would do.
Oh, man. They did wrestling every day on the boat. And I can't remember what match it was, but the show's over. It's the final match of the final day on the cruise. And so they do a big curtain call at the end of the show. And Chris Daniels, he gets in the ring and he grabs the mic and he cut this incredible promo. I thought he was going to retire. He starts by talking about how he'd been doing this for so many years and his neck. But then he didn't do it exactly like Ric Flair, but basically he just said, I will never retire. It's great promo. And they called everybody in the ring and everything like that. And he's going to try to wrestle as long as he can. But the dude is like 48, 49 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be a fine role to be the Exalted One.
Yes.
And you're largely doing the Exalted One gimmick. And, every now and then you can get in there and wrestle or whatever. But you don't need to be wrestling all the time.
Yeah. Now, that would make a lot of sense. Packed as a video. They were in... Maybe it was a graveyard, actually. It was a dark outside stairwell somewhere. In a park or a graveyard or something. He's very angry. He's angry at Moxley. Moxley beat him last week. Threatens to pluck out his other eyeball. But says, whatever. You beat Jericho. You go mess around with him and his lackeys. Let me know how that works out for you. In the meantime, he's going to talk about Kenny Omega. And as he says Omega's name, he goes into a great, giant, exaggerated coughing fit. And obviously, this is a pre-tape. So if it was supposed to be there. But he's a great actor when it comes to fake coughing. Because you can't even pronounce Omega's name without getting sick. So Omega, you finally heard me, but now you say you will only answer my challenge when it's convenient for you. So it's not going to do it that way. They'll do everything on his timetable. Starting next week, he's coming for blood. I thought this was really cool. And I like the way they do these little videos. Just do something different. Let's go to the park at night and shoot a video.
Fun.
Yeah. For next week on AEW Dynamite, Cody gets his 10 lashes.
Oh, man.
Jon Moxley versus Ortiz. Britt Baker versus Yuka Sakazaki in her AEW Dynamite debut. And the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega and Hangman Page versus the Butcher and the Blade and their partners, the Lucha Bros.
That's right.
Yes, that's going to be a hell of a match. And our main event, Private Party and Darby Allin versus Chris Jericho and Proud and Powerful. They had a professional wrestling match. A trios match. The small, young, fast guys did a lot of cool stuff. The older, bigger guys slowed them down, did a lot of simple stuff. And the young guys got the hot tag, ran wild. Darby Allin looked great as always.
Dude, this match was there until Darby made that comeback.
Yeah.
This comeback was so awesome. And the place is going crazy. The dude is probably going to kill himself. I mean, he did his interview with us on the boat, and he was talking about how, contrary to popular belief, I do care about my body. And he talks about how he goes to the acupuncturist and this and that. But, dude, I watched this guy, and, like, you can care about your body all you want, but there's only so many coffin drops that a guy's got.
Yeah.
It's called a coffin drop for a reason.
It's not a pillow
You're
drop.
going to end up in a coffin.
Or a hot tub drop.
But goddamn, he was so fast and
slick. He is slick.
So I think we probably mentioned this in the interview with him, but we're on this boat and there's not a lot of kids on the Jericho cruise. I saw maybe 10.
It's a cruise.
But dude, like 9 of them had their face painted like Darby Allin.
Yeah.
And you look in the crowd and there's all these kids with their face painted like Darby Allin.
Yeah.
Because he looks young. He's got like a teenager's build.
Yes.
He's a skinny guy.
Teenager's fashion.
Runs around like crazy. He's out of his mind. I mean, these kids love Darby Allin. And he made this big, crazy video game comeback and the place went nuts. I'm just watching this thinking, look what they got here. If this guy were in WWE, like, he's done. He's way too small. He's on 205 Live, and you never see him again. But here, it's like they're giving this guy credibility. They're giving him big matches. They're determined to make him a star, and it's working.
So all the babyfaces are hitting dives everywhere, in and out of the ring. But Cassidy hit some kind of splash on a Jericho. I forget if it was a moonsault or a
senton.
Senton, excuse me. It had a senton on Jericho for a near fall, which is, of course, a big spot. Anytime anyone gets a near fall on the champion, it's huge. But then Jericho almost immediately pops up, hits the Judas effect out of nowhere, and pins him.
I do got to say this about the Judas effect. I can't say anything about Chris Jericho without people accusing me of saying this because I won on the boat, but someone's got to back me up here. When he first debuted this move, I was like, what?
It's a back elbow.
It's like, I'm watching this match, and then he just like does his elbow and wins.
Dude, when he beat Omega in the...
Yes.
For the All... Was it All Out?
It was for the title.
Whatever we called it. Whatever that show was called. But yes.
I was caught totally off guard.
I was too.
I was like, okay, like... They built it up by him practicing it and everything like that and showing the footage. But when I actually saw it, I was like, I'm not sure.
I don't know
how long he's going to be doing this.
We were sitting next to each other on that show, and he hits a back elbow, and he wins. And I said, what? And you said, that's his move now. And I said, I know, but that's where we're at.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, like... I mean, he did beat Omega with it.
Yeah.
So that's what you have to do if you want to get the move over. So I don't know if it's just because he's been doing it so long. I don't know if he's figured out like the right timing or what it is.
That's yes. The answer to that is yes, but there's more.
When he hit Marco's stunt with it on the boat, and I thought he killed this dude, and it was perfect. I was like, God damn, that is a cool finish. And then I saw him do it in this match, and I thought the same thing. God damn, that is a cool finish. It's a fucking spinning back elbow. How did he do this?
The only problem with it is it definitely looks a lot better. There's no question. It looks a lot better. But it still is such a simple move, and it comes so fast out of nowhere. It's like in a UFC fight where you two guys are trading punches, and suddenly one guy's on the ground, you don't know how. That's what happened here, because he hit this move, and neither Ross nor Shivani were even aware. Excalibur popped as soon as he hit it, but Shivani and Ross just continued their conversation, and Excalibur's kind of 3, he got him!
I think it's just that now he's hitting it at the right time every time, and I think it's just because he's been doing it so long, and people know that's the finish, that it works now.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like when I first saw this, I thought there's just no way, and I was proven wrong. I like this Judas effect.
Yeah.
It's a cool finish.
So...
It's not even like you set it up like Shawn Michaels' super kick.
No.
Like Shawn hits a super kick out of nowhere, but, you know, after watching Shawn Michaels for all these years, that was one thing I always knew when the super kick was coming. Like every single time.
Yeah.
That's why I was so proud when I figured out when that Rainmaker was coming. Was it the Rainmaker?
No, Okada's dropkick.
The dropkick. Yeah, the last Okada match. I finally saw the dropkick. I knew it was coming. I haven't figured out the Judas effect yet.
No, that's your next puzzle.
That's my next puzzle to figure out.
So the Inner Circle attacks more after the match. The crowd is chanting for Moxley. They're beating up Darby, and Guevara goes outside. Sammy Guevara goes outside to grab Darby's own skateboard. And Jericho wants to hit Darby, I think, with a belt. But Guevara interrupts and says, no, let me hit him with a skateboard. And Jericho is so moved at his students, his pupils' development, gives him a great big hug. So Guevara jabs him with the skateboard, and he jams his neck down into the skateboard and lays him out.
You know what I loved about this was never for 1 second did I think of a Darby Allin-Sammy Guevara feud. But the moment Sammy grabbed that skateboard, I was like, how the fuck did I never think of this?
It's going to be awesome.
This is going to be the greatest.
Yes.
Sammy Guevara and Darby Allin, this is going to rule.
Yes. Eventually, Moxley came out with a bat and made the save. And it was perfect because as soon as he hits the ring, Jericho gets the hell out of Dodge. All the other geeks get hit with the bat because you saved Jericho getting beat up for the pay-per-view. So there you go. And that was the end of the show. A very good show.
Very, very good show. All right, you go first.
First of all, we were not here last week, and you didn't watch both shows, but I did. I'm going to vote for AEW. First of all, I was on a boat. That's a big part.
Dude, there's no way I could have liked NXT better. With AEW on a boat, it's impossible.
Should I put you in down for AEW?
Yes.
Okay, put you down there. And this week, although there was no boat, I still feel AEW is the better show. I will vote for All Elite Wrestling Dynamite.
Well, here's what I'm going to do this week. This is going to be very controversial. Okay. You ready for this? Okay.
I don't even say it.
So, I loved Dynamite. I loved NXT.
Okay.
There were things on both shows that I loved. Okay? Mm-hmm. So, my answer this week would be a tie.
Okay.
However, it's like a storyline. Several weeks ago, there was a week where I voted for AEW, and I sat down later and I thought, you know what? I'm not sure that that was a fair vote, because when I really think about it, I loved NXT, and I should have voted for a tie.
Okay.
But I didn't. I gave it to AEW. Okay?
Okay.
So in the interest of fairness, I would have voted for a tie this week. But in fairness, I am giving it to NXT.
Hey.
So now I can wipe that from my record.
Just for the record, in real elections,
now
vote like this,
my conscience is now clean. You understand?
Got it.
My conscience is clean.
I'm happy for your conscience.
But man, I loved both of those shows. There were segments on those shows that I loved. Not just like I liked everything on the show, but there were things on both shows that I loved and made me very happy.
Good.
An excellent Wednesday night for Dynamite and NXT.
There you go.
All right, everybody. That's it. Are you going to Defy tomorrow?
I'm not going to Defy tomorrow, no.
I'm going to Defy tomorrow, it looks like, everybody. So if you want to stop and say hi,